What's the guarantee? E&E. Put your boy shit. Glitch, nigga. Shit, I'm about to flood the streets like when the levees break. Criminal minds, my Garcia can navigate. Flowing while I'm blowing this gas. Nigga, no grace. Niggas not seeing me ever. I mean, no dates. Fuck around and end up going to get in this place. E&E, the shit that I claim, you dealing with grace. Took over the game by storm like Rain's mixtape. Thankfully, I've been up in smoke like my mixtape. Counting cheddar shit, I'm about to make a grilled cheese. Niggas be faker than bad bitches with good weeds. On my John Wick shit like Keanu Reeves. Replacements won't be enough, you need the whole team. I've been a G since I could finish my ABCs. Kept it a buck so real niggas look up to me. Just put your boy shit get crazy. When it's sick of me, I'm coughing out these dope bars till they sick of me.
Can't get rid of me, still can't find a remedy. Still blowing palmers, if it comes to Hennessy. E&E, we own our shit independently. When I go out on the limb, I take extremities. I can see right through a transparency. Hurting self-esteem, low insecurities. Now or never like, push the guarantee. What's the recipe? King L's Reflection 3. All these chapters in my life, you can turn a page. Books can't tell you my story, gotta live a day. Glitch got my back, yeah, you can copy that. Man, we control the seat, you can copy that. Leave your whole state red like Republicans. Put fire on the track, now it's bubbling. Put your boys E&E, you in trouble, kid. Add first 100 mil, you can double.
Let's go. All the hustlers getting money, let it show. Automatic, nigga, how we get the dough. If it ain't paper, then we probably gotta go. Put your boy shit, nigga, let's go. All the hustlers getting money, let it show. It's automatic, nigga, how we get the dough. If it ain't paper, then we probably gotta go. Put your boy shit, nigga, let's go.
Blow sick around the jealous in the motherfucker. Can't even take a step, that's how far I trust you. This black boy turned to shining king under pressure. West side fat jacks, I took more to measure. Shave the extras, that's business starter fees. Street blues, what I talk, royal blood flowing free. Power on my mind, knows the gang is kind. Read between the lines, it was in my eye. If they ain't got real lines, it ain't hard to spot a counterfeit. Undefeated, ultra real, Fern Gully Mountain shit. Couple hot shots, turn on the frozen margaritas. Even better when it's served with some flawless features. Next year they gotta pay for these flawless features. Flawless victories from the flaws that they teach us. Now my flow imitate how I board the plane non-stop. The little J gon' take over with my time side.
I get right to it. My nigga, we beg your pardon. We putting niggas back in boxes. Yeah, they need pardon. My flow be retarded. Sick, I need hella help. My groove came back. This must be how Stella felt. We just started kicking it like a yellow belt. We all made it to the pros. This is how LaMelo felt. You better yell out help. Here come the double team. You catch me in the spot, then you know that the boy is clean. The Louis V look mean with the magazine. So if you try it, you get shot. No vaccine. If you was asleep before I came, then I'm the caffeine. I pull the jokers out the deck. Yeah, there ain't no laughing. In CEO fashion, we sticking to the business. Wouldn't even let a vegan knock me off my chick. Something about the BBS when the sun is hitting. Should be flashing like the lights when you getting
Let's go. All the hustlers getting money, let it show. It's automatic, nigga, how we get the dough. If it ain't paper, then we probably gotta go. Put your boy shit, nigga, let's go. All the hustlers getting money, let it show. It's automatic, nigga, how we get the dough. If it ain't paper, then we probably gotta go. Put your boy shit, nigga, let's go.
Yeah. What up? Y'all already know it's the man about town, Virgil, aka Stats with the Facts. And y'all know y'all tuned in to another episode of A Real Talk Podcast, Spiritual Roots Sundays. We in the building. What it do, man? What's going on with y'all, man? How you? You know what I'm talking about? What's going on with y'all, man? Y'all know we about to get straight to it. It's a beautiful situation. It's a beautiful day today, too. How y'all doing today, man? You know what I'm saying? We all woke up today, so we already got the victory and the glory. You did. It's a beautiful situation, man. How y'all like last night's show, man? Or this earlier today's show? You know, we was going in last night, man. It was a beautiful thing, man. I appreciate everybody who tapped in last night. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? I appreciate everybody who tapped in last night and earlier today. It was a serious conversation, although I know a lot of people think that stuff is kind of like wreck a little bit, and it is. You know what I'm saying? You know, we got to make light of the situation, but at the same time, it's a very serious, situation, because as we discussed last night, man, you know what I'm saying, all this sexual freedom, which is rooted in Satanism and Luciferianism, right, is running rampant in our society. We're starting to see the effects of it, man, and it's destroying people, man. Especially destroying these young girls, man, as we saw last night. You know, last night was proof that the Jezebel spirit is abound. You hear me? Man, it ain't no specific to no just one group of women. No, those all chicks. Consumed by the Jezebel spirit, man. You hear me, man? Invading, assimilating, uploading, right, into the hive mind collective, man. I keep telling y'all, man. Y'all probably think I'll just be saying that shit because I'm trying to think I'm saying some slick shit. No, I'm telling y'all what the hell going on, man. I'm telling y'all what's going on, man. You know what I'm saying? Copper ear and listen. Anyway, man, what's good with y'all, man? How y'all doing tonight, man? Click on the bell, subscribe to the page. You hear me, man? Tap in, walk with us. We got Pops in the building. You feel me? He got the new Jackery popping, so, you know what I'm saying? We got him in the building tonight. You know what I mean? And we go get straight to it. You hear me? We're going to get straight to it. You know what I'm talking about? Part 2, Spiritual Roots of Elijah the Prophet and John the Baptist. You hear me? Yeah, man, last week was nice. I see a lot of y'all enjoyed that show last week, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that y'all did. Due to the amount of emails I received behind that, man. You know what I'm talking about? I know that y'all enjoyed it. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to tell y'all this, man. Me and my pops, man, we enjoy doing the Spiritual Root Sunday, man. You know what I'm saying? It's actually the highlight of the week for me. Because I know people be tapping in, man, and people be getting a lot out of this stuff, and that's just what I want. I just want you to get something from it, man, whatever it is for you. You know what I'm talking about? And this is the reason why we do what we do. You know what I'm saying? To bring revelation and confirmation of the information. You know what I'm saying? To bring some illumination, not illumination. Not illumination, but illumination. You hear me to your mind. You did. What's good with everybody out there, man? Come on up in here, man. Y'all know what it is, man. It's Spiritual Root Sundays, man. You know what I'm talking about? Come on, tap on in. I know I might have said that the show was starting at 9, but y'all know it's 8 o'clock on Sundays, man. You know what I'm talking about? We're going to give y'all a little bit to get on up in here, man. Yeah, man, last night was, you know, it is what it is, man. You know, y'all, a lot of chicks that let dudes run trays on them, man. And that's that Jezebel spirit. You know, that Jezebel spirit running rampant, making y'all believe that y'all can be that there's sexual liberation. You hear me? Which is some straight BS. You know what I'm talking about, man? You ain't supposed to be no sexually liberated, man. You hear me? God didn't design you to be having different penises going up in you. Your body wasn't designed for that. You did. And I think that's a thing that a lot of chicks have a hard time understanding and a lot of time accepting. Because, right, through this indoctrination, being told that women are equal to men, when y'all absolutely are not in any way, shape, or form, outside of we both are just human, right? And we both in our fallen state, but even in our fallen state, we are completely and totally different. You know? And through this whole equality thing, you know what I'm saying, that we're equal to each other, and this then blurred lines, man. So now chicks think they can operate like dudes, and dudes think they can operate like chicks. And now we have our current calamity in our society. Baphomet agenda in full effect. You hear me? Oh my God, man. It's terrible too, man. You know what I'm saying? It's horrible. So we got to shine the light on it. You know what I'm saying? Got to shine a light on it. You know what I'm talking about? You got girls out here being in full-blown relationships with other women, and they getting into domestic situations and killing each other and shit, killing themselves. Crazy, man. Same-sex marriages should be proof to y'all, right? A gay couple, two gay males being able to adopt a child, and two gay females being able to adopt a child should be proof enough to y'all to know that LSD is in full control right now. But notice I said this right now, right? But the very fact that this so-called government would allow something so unholy and completely out of order and out of structure as two men raising, or should I say two males raising a child and two females raising a child, that's just completely out of order. I don't care how anybody feels about it. Two gay men is not going to raise a masculine man. So let me correct that. Two gay males are not going to raise a masculine man. Flat out. We're going to do a show on that too, man, Pops. I think we need to go a little bit further in on that, though, man, because a lot of people are really thinking that it's something natural about homosexuality. A lot of people think that that it's okay. You know. And it's not, man. You weren't designed to be sexually interacting with another male as a male, and likewise as a female. Flat out. Don't care how you think you feel. All right? Doesn't even matter. And that's one of the major reasons why our society is the way it is now, man, because like I said, it's completely out of order. Nothing can come from the union sexually of two males or two females except for abomination. You feel me? Hit that like button, man. Click on the page, the bell, subscribe to the page and all that, man. Sure, social engineering, man. And I know a lot of people probably thinking or whatever y'all been thinking. That's how you know how inverted our society is. This is how you know our society is on the cusp of being fully assimilated into the hive mind collective. Right? Lucifer, Satan, the devil, manifesting himself in a 3-4 paradigm through and as the unintelligent artificial intelligence. When I connected all this together, I was in a joint, right? You hear me, Pops? And I'm just sitting here putting all this stuff together, right? You know what I'm saying? Experiences I had. And I'm putting all this stuff together as it was given to me to do so. And as I'm putting it together, the message was always, Pops, just keep connecting the dots, and the puzzle will all make sense when the time is right for you to see it. that voice was in my head strong the whole time I was in the joint. You hear me, Pops, man? And when I came home in 2016, that word was made good on. And here we are today. And I'm not bragging or boasting. You hear me? I just want to make y'all clear with that. I'm not bragging or boasting. You know, when you give him the gift, man, you're supposed to talk about it and shit. You're not supposed to keep it to yourself and be quiet. That's a total disrespect to the Most High for him to give you a gift and you not use it for what he gave it to give it to you to do. Total disrespect. Said go scream it out from the mountaintops. You hear me, Pops, man? Am I wrong, Pops? Am I wrong when I say that? Screaming from the mountaintops, man. You hear me? You hear me? And this is why I say everything happened for a reason, because I told y'all when I was in the joint, I had subscriptions to Popular Mechanics, Popular Science, Wired, you hear me? National Geographic, and all these magazines that I was reading, along with information I was getting from the source himself. You hear me, Pops? And it all came together, and I seen like, whoa, hold on, wait a minute, Pops, wait. This unintelligent artificial intelligence that is coming in every area of our life, pay attention. This is the how can I say it, the upgraded version that Lucifer, Satan, and devil is choosing to manifest himself now in this, let's say, dispensation, or this version of the Matrix, the world, so to speak. You know what I'm talking about, y'all? Hit that like button, man. Click on the bell, subscribe to the page, man. Share your social engineering, and look, I'm telling y'all some real shit, man. And when I've tied it all together, right, it just was like, wow, like it really lets you know what I'm saying, that for one, the old saying goes, everything happened for a reason, and that's true. Also, that one song, an album that I used to play all the time, Pops, when I was in the joint, was Nas's "It Was Written." You hear me? I used to listen to that album all the time, y'all. It was written. It was written. You feel me? And that term, "it was written," is a lot deeper than most people even want to realize. With that, even that saying right there, "it was written." You know what I'm talking about? And y'all know we out here, man. We got Pops in the building. He got a new phone finally. You know what I'm saying? He live on camera. I ain't got to drive all the way up north and then all the way back out here. Then all I got to do all that stuff no more. You feel me? So I'm gonna just go ahead and bring Pops in right now, Mike.
All right. Hello. How's my YouTube family out there today? Hope you had a blessed week. I know you did. God is good every day, all the time. Just listening to my son, he was saying when he was in the wilderness. See, that's what God do with all his people. He gets them prepared. He gets them ready. You know, it's not so matter about where you're at. It's that what is being done to you, where you at. You know, God can prepare you and get you ready for anything, you know, anywhere. It doesn't matter, like I said before earlier last week, about locality. It's not so much about location. It's state of mind, you know. And sometimes that's the only way God can be able to deal with you on a one-to-one, is that he had to have you somewhere where it's just you and him, you know. Whether it's locked down, you know, you don't have to be in the prison wall, behind prison walls to be locked down. You can be locked down right in your front room or in your house or wherever you may be. But it's just the
Okay.
fact that when God get ready to do a work for you, and when you're a chosen one, because that's what this whole podcast is about, it's about that we are chosen. God gonna use you either way. If He chose you and you called to do what you need to do, He's gonna do it. You know, you can fight against Him all you want, but you won't win. You know, that's why it says every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. Jonah tried to run from Him. You know, Moses tried to get out of his calling. You know, when you look back through the paths of the Bible, there was many of them that was called. And tried to get away from it and didn't want to do it. Jonah, he tried to go all the way. He's supposed to go to Nineveh. Jonah never did try to not to go to Nineveh, and God ended up having to where that he had a whale swallow him up for 3 days. He was in the belly of the whale. That's another revelation because that's something where Jesus went through when He was in the earth for 3 days. Okay, that's another topic. Just always throwing nuggets out there. That's all. But it's good to be here again, once again. Like I said, we're glad that we finally got this situation together. I got my phone together. I'm still learning how to work it and use it. I'm old school, but God is working in me, to know how to use these modern technologies, and I thank God for my son because he really is a helping to me, and we're going to get together later on and he's going to really show me how to use his phone. So we're going to have this kind of status anymore when we get ready to do what we have to do. I shout out to Mr. O. I know you're in the house now, Mr. O. You got just a little bit of the first week podcast of this last week. I've been doing some more work and research on it, so I'm getting ready to bring you part 2 of it, and we're going to wrap it up with this, so you can be totally informed on what you didn't hear last week. You'll be able to hear that and the rest of it, the conclusion of it this week. So what we're going to do is we're going to get right into it, like my son said, we're talking about Elijah the prophet, and John the Baptist, old revelation, new revelation, but it all comes together, You got the New Testament, then you got the Old Testament. Like I brought out to you last week that John the Baptist, he was a messenger. He wasn't a prophet. And like I said, it really blew me away when you put the two together, only you know why you requested that like that, So apparently, God was working in you anyway, to give you some insights, to some things that you wanted to know. And like I said, you are the little stone of the beginning of the cornerstone of this podcast that when people come together that wants to know things, it's not always so much that I have to bring it to the table, but other people can bring things to the table, and share it with me. Then I can get into it, and then I can share it with all of you. And this is what's been happening, Plus my son, he does his homework, and everything that I say, from coming out of the Word of God, he confirms it with the technology and the things that we live in today to bring it all up together, to show us that we're not the opposite of each other, but we blend in with each other. And he gives confirmation to us like that when he does his homework. And he does do his homework, And like we said once before, we don't pre-program anything. That's why it's called live, because that's what it is. It's live. It happens as it happens and as it unfolds, So getting into Elijah and John, these two men, they were of the same spirit, like I spoke of last week, when God sent the spirit of Himself, not the spirit man that was already in Elijah or the spirit man that already was in John the Baptist, but the same spirit that was in Jesus Christ, is the same spirit that was in Elijah and that was in John the Baptist, that God sent them, directly to His people in the flesh, that what He wanted to get done and accomplish in earth, then that's what He did, okay? So Elijah, as I did my study, and find out that he is the spirit of John the Baptist, and John the Baptist was the spirit of Elijah. Now, understand this, you two people. Check this out. God is so awesome that He sent His spirit of Himself Remember he used Hannah,
Mm-hmm.
Elijah's mother? She just wanted a child, okay? Like I said before last week, God used her because he said, all right, this is just the right vessel that I need to bring myself into the natural realm to continue to finish my work in the earth. And I'll use Elijah, you know, and I'll be able to manifest my works through him being in the earth illegally. Like I said last week, you know, you have to be in here
You mean legally,
legally.
not illegally, legally.
Legally, you have to be here if you're a spirit. And God always know that he was going to break his own law. Okay. If every other spirit had to be here legally, you know, because as Jesus said, oh my goodness, he said that I am the door. He said, I'm the shepherd. He said, if you come into the spirit realm any other way, and he's basically talking about spirits,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you come into the natural realm any other way than by through me, it's against God's law.
Mm.
That's why when you get into the occult, that's illegal entry into the occult. Because there's only two ways you can get into the spirit realm, and that's through God or that's through Satan. And that's not God's spiritual realm that you enter into, but it's the realm where he dwells at, in the realm of darkness, okay? Because he's a spirit, all right? Now he knows
darkness was upon the face of the deep.
Exactly, right? So that's what took place back in the garden, okay, with the serpent in the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's where Satan had his chance to try to get into the earth legally, to be able to work and manifest his power. He had to have a body. That was the whole fall was about and based on, okay? God cast him down to the earth, but when he cast him down to the earth, what we call darkness, because see, like my son just said, that was the darkness that was hovering over the face of the deep. The deep was where God had threw Satan at. Okay? Him being a spirit, God created a spirit realm for him to be able to dwell in, you know. That's why there's three heavens. If you notice, okay, there's three heavens. And the spirit realm that was of darkness, which was upon the face of the deep, is where that Satan was as a spirit. Okay. And all the demons or the angels that fell with him. Now, what he had to do in order to be able to be active and to do his works in the physical and the natural realm, he had to have a body. Are you understanding me? YouTube family, this is what happened. This is what transpired.
I'll be breaking this down to y'all.
Now, so when he chose to come through Elijah to be here legally, because Elijah already had a human spirit.
Right.
Okay. But God's talking about having his spirit of himself in here legally, where that he could work and manifest his powers in the earth. And the only way he could do that was that it had to be through man. You know, that was the only other way that he could manifest himself legally to do his works. That's why the differences between Elijah and John the Baptist was that Elijah, he didn't have the Holy Spirit in him. See, before he was able to do anything legally, he had to be able to have himself in a position where God could use him, see, because he had not had the Holy Ghost in him. So God's power would hover over him, see, and would manifest his powers. Now chew on this a little bit.
Not in him.
He wasn't in him. And the reason why that he wasn't in him, because Elijah had not yet went through the process of being born again, where he can be able to enter into the spirit realm from being in his natural body. Jesus said he's the door, you know. He lets you in and out dealing with the spirit realm. Jesus told Nicodemus, you have to be born again. Now that's the key to why Elijah wasn't able to do any works through God, okay? Manifesting his power. God hooper over him, and then God will do and work his own power. See? Same way it was back when he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, he just brought fire from out of heaven to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Now with Elijah, Jesus said, in order to be able to get into the kingdom of heaven, you have to be able to see it, and you have to be able to enter into it. You have to be born again of the Spirit. Well, Elijah wasn't born again. Salvation haven't even came to man yet. That was the limitation of Elijah being able to really be able to do any great works of God himself. You follow me what I'm saying? So God would hover over him. See? And he always had something physical and tangible that he had to use also to represent God's power in order to work for him, or to be able to let him see that it is coming from him, you know, Elijah, and also that it's God that's doing it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like sort of a ventriloquist, you know,
Right.
that you got the dummy, you got the dummy, but it's the person that's got the dummy speaking, but it's the person that's speaking. Let me slow myself down because I get so excited that sometimes I get ahead of myself.
Yeah, hold on real quick, Pop. Hold on real quick. Now pay attention to what my pops just said, man. Right. Now think about when I talk to y'all about the voice of God or voice to skull technology. When I be telling y'all that they have technology through the 5, 6, and now 7G wireless frequencies that can send images, thoughts, perceptions, concepts, ideas, notions, you hear me, dreams to your brain. Images as well. So when you hear people talking about they're hearing things and they're seeing things, don't think it's too spooky. LSD has upgraded himself to modern times and is manifesting through the technology. You hear me, man? When you hear me say the unintelligent artificial intelligence, you hear me? And I say unintelligent and not natural, right? Not in the natural design. You know, I want to tell y'all everything the Most High got in this perfect design. LSD has a counterfeit for it, an inversion of it. You hear me? You know what I'm saying? Now, think about that right there, man. As far as what we're talking about tonight, remember my dad just said that Elijah was John unrevealed, and John was Elijah revealed.
That's deep, son. That's deep, but that's actually the way that it is, and it's been brought out more and more in the scriptures. As you get into the word, it reveals that more too.
You hear me? Shout out to my nigga Larry Gators, man. And this is why I rock with my pops. Like I said, my pops is the only guy I know personally who can help me, you know what I'm saying, as far as really, you know what I'm saying, with the scriptures go, because I mean, I skimmed through them, but I don't know them like how I know other books and stuff like that. But my pops do, though. So this is a beautiful thing, and you know, we helping a lot of y'all as well, I'm sure, too. Like I said, due to the emails I be getting, and I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? But I want y'all to understand when we be talking like how we talk, we talking heavy right now. You know what I'm talking about? Only those with the ears to hear and the eyes to see won't even really see what we're saying right now. You know what I'm talking about? And I want y'all to you know what I'm saying, get to a place where y'all can I understand, like I say, what I just said, man, how powerful that is right there, man. You hear me? You know what I'm saying? And this, I said, this is like next level thinking right here, man. Next level stuff right here. You gotta use your You gotta take your human mind off, man. You know what I'm saying? You gotta tap into your spirit mind, man. You hear me? And I only can say such things because, you know, I've been exposed to certain things and I had certain experiences and stuff, man. You know what I mean? And, you know, with the spirit, you know what I'm saying? And when you can tell when somebody, because when people have a comfortability about talking about such things, you know what I'm saying? You know, that's how you know. Or could I say you could say that there's some genuineness to it, because everybody has had these experiences, but they just don't quite know that they did or remember that they did. Remember when I told y'all about trauma-based mind control, how our brains firewalls memories off so we don't experience them, the pain, physical and emotional attached to it. Like, say, for instance, when you get in a car accident, you know, you don't remember the exact point of impact, right? Because your brain firewalls that off, compartmentalize. Remember I told y'all about that? So you don't experience the pain of remembering going through that. That's traumatic. You hear me? Right? And
right, they call it trauma.
Yeah, why they call it trauma. These different altered states of awareness, reality, perception can be programmed.
Right.
Right. And think about this. Dad, Yeshua cast out the legion out of the young man. Right? A legion is 6,000. Legionnaire's disease. A legion in the Roman military was 6,000 men. Right?
Right.
So when you think about compartmentalization and breaking up of the psyche, multiple personal disorder, dissociative identity disorder, right? And then you connect that, right, with the legion, 6,000, then you can understand why people can have massive alters compartmentalized. They call it homecoming. When you experience trauma, it breaks the psyche up into massive different alters. Some people are running around with multiple personalities, demons.
Right. You
hear me? Legion. Just imagine there's people running around here with thousands of entities just residing and abiding all of them. You hear me? And he casts them out into the swine. Different topic for a different day. I just wanted to say that there. Go ahead, man.
Right. You're right, son, because you have to be aware of what we're dealing with here in the earth now, you know, because it's a supernatural spiritual battle and war that is going on, you know. It all started in the heavens, you know, it all started when Lucifer got cast out, you know, and it's still going on today, you know. And God, like I said before, you know, he's already got his master plan that how he's going to end it all, you know, but it has to go through the process of elimination, you know, and he's restoring everything back to where it was from in the beginning. See, just like I said before last week, everything is coming full circle. You know, remember I made the statement once before that you follow something where you at right now with it, and if you follow it far enough back, it'll take you right back to the beginning. So this is what's happening. This is how God's plan is, you know, same way that I gave the illustration about a puzzle, you know, and the many pieces of a puzzle, you know, that you'll never understand what the whole picture will be or what the picture is about until you put all the puzzle pieces together. So this is what's happening with God's plan for man in the earth and his creation. Now, with Elijah, getting back to him, these are some of the things that what God was using to manifest himself through Elijah, you know, because his main purpose was to let his people know, like I said before, that he is here in the earth. He said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. I'll be with you always, even to the end of times. Jesus said that, but that still was the word of God. So God is still saying it. You know, when you hear God speaks, you hearing Jesus speaks. When you hear Jesus speaks, now Jesus speaks when he's God as being the word of God. See, now there's a difference when he was Jesus Christ the Son in the earth in flesh. You know, he didn't say anything of his own self being in natural flesh. He said, everything that I say and everything that I do, he said, I do it of my Father. He never gave himself any recognition. The same way John didn't when he was in the wilderness. He never said that I am John the Baptist. He said, I am a voice crying in the wilderness. The flesh part of them never got caught up into the spiritual part of who they are. Another revelation. That's why we have to know to be able to distinguish between the natural man and the spiritual man. Because the natural man, he wants the attention. It's the natural minded man that wants to be recognized, wants to be known as that he knows this and he knows that. Jesus said, no, the spiritual minded man. And that's what I speak out to my YouTube family is that when me and my son give our podcasts, I want you and he wants you to be able to lock into your spirit man. Because this is the only way that you're going to receive the spiritual things of God. Jesus said, natural minded man cannot understand or receive the spiritual things of God, nor can it be because it's not designed that way. That's why so many people get so confused about the word of God and they can't understand it. It will confuse you because it only takes you in your spiritual mind. You see what I'm saying? To be able to understand it and to be able to know what God is saying, when he speaks, not only through his people, but also even through his word, that is written in black and white. All right.
Now, let me
Now
say this real
Elijah.
quick. Let me say this real quick.
Go ahead.
We're gonna get back to Elijah. Now, y'all see what my pops just said, man, right? You hear me? So, right. So think about everything that's going on, considering what my pops just said. Think about genetic modification. Think about when I talk to y'all about the smart grid, the metaverse. Right. Think when I talk to y'all about how I just said Lucifer saying the devil is upgrading himself and manifesting through the technology. So think about when you get synced and linked to the metaverse, smart grid, via human brain computer interface. And y'all can hear me keep saying the same stuff over and over. It's the reason why I keep saying it over and over again, right? It's called neural linguistic programming. You hear me? And just like everything else in this reality, it has a dual nature to it, right? That whole thing with the force, you know what I'm saying? The dark side of the force and all of that crazy stuff, right? Now, think about what I'm saying, man. You feel me? And how are you going to be forever separated from the source? You feel me? And think about when I tell y'all that the unintelligent artificial intelligence is the digital, holographic, electronic expression of the reprobate mind, which is the mind of Lucifer, Satan, the devil. So once you get connected to the metaverse via the smart grid, strategic military armaments, and residential technologies, you will be forever synced and linked through human brain computer interfacing to the very electronic, digital, holographic, the mind of Lucifer, saying the devil, versus the natural frequency that has been hacked into, so to speak, right, to the source, or capital G, capital O, capital D. And when I put all this stuff together, Pops, man, it's just like, you know what I mean? It's just like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, it's reflecting on a lot of experience I had as a kid too. You know what I'm talking about? It just bring things full circle for me when I was a kid. You know what I'm talking about? A lot of things that I never even discussed with my father, y'all. You hear me? A lot of experiences I had. You feel me? That I know if I discuss certain things with my father that he don't know, he will understand. You feel me? Maybe even some of y'all, some of y'all have similar experiences. Who knows? I'm not naive enough to know to think that I'm the only person that had experiences that I had growing up as a child. You feel me? Right. Spiritually, you know. Like that was just crazy, you know what I'm saying? Like stuff that you know, you would think when you was a child was a bit maybe a figment of your imagination. You hear me, Pops? You know, you would
Yeah.
think it was a figment
Yeah.
of your imagination. You know how we say as kids we have whimsical, we have wild imaginations and stuff. You know what I mean? You think about TV shows like C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. You feel me? We're talking about portals. You hear what I'm saying, Pops, man?
That's right. Different portals.
You know what I'm saying, man? And you know, and this is why they come for us when we're young, man. We're gonna get back to life. They come for us when we're young because when we're young, we still have that pure connection to the source. You feel me? And if that can get hacked into at an early age, that means you can get cut off and synced and linked to the reprobate mind, Lucifer saying the devil, that much faster. Which is why our children are under attack. Now think about stuff like pedophilia and stuff like that. All right, go ahead, Pops.
And you know what, son? That's what I try to share with our family, YouTube family, is that nothing is never rehearsed with me and you. You know,
right.
No matter what we put on paper, and when we get in our topics for Sunday podcasts on Sundays, at any moment and any time, that's when God can step in, and He does every time, and intervene, and He just add on more to what me and my son have already separately and individually, apart from each other, prepare and get our messages together, And it's God that brings it all into one, because like I said before, I was listening to a lot of and then once again, footnote, my YouTube family, this is our 10th, well, it will be our 10th podcast. It would have been 11, except that one time when my phone went crazy, so we had to cancel that one out. But I was just listening over some of our old podcasters, and I do that from time to time because it recharges me spiritually, But it's 10, and 10 is like 1 is like 1,000, 1,000 is like 1. Okay, so in saying that, I just wanted to thank my YouTube family that I didn't realize how many podcasts that we done did already, and we're up to the 10th one, And that's just congratulations out to YouTube family because you keep wanting to hear it and we keep wanting to give it. So I thank you and my son thank you, and we appreciate that. But from the time that you are born into this earth, like I said, God's chosen people, okay? Now, the whole world is of God because God so loved the world, He said He gave His only begotten Son. Then it's one thing to be chosen, okay? It's one thing to be called, all right? Jesus said, many shall be called, but only few will be chosen. All me and my son tried to do is to help open up that door to see if you know that you are either called or chosen. Okay. If you're called, then you have a greater responsibility to being in on a part of God's plan of His creation and wrapping up everything that what He has allowed to be out here in the world, or what He allowed to happen in His creation. Okay, He chose you specifically for a certain purpose and job that He wants you to do for Him, and helping Him complete and to fulfill His plan for man in the earth. That's why our podcast is always God's chosen people, God's chosen prophets, God chosen messengers. See, that all still link back to it, that everybody is a star. And how bright you shine, it's up to you. And if you're tapped into your spiritualness of who you are as a spiritual person, then that means, first of all, you recognize that you are a spirit being, not just only flesh and blood and bone. Do you hear what I'm saying, YouTube family? If you have a relationship with God, and like I said, the God, okay, and the living God, okay, and the true God, then God's going to let you know. See, He's not going to use you and not let you know that He needs to be using you, okay? That's a relationship that you have with God, and you know what kind of relationship you have with God. You know if you are serving or if you're aware of the true living God, okay? You might not yet necessarily be totally committed because you still have your battles in your flesh, see? You're still dealing with your natural man, see? Like I said before, my son, we are our worst enemies, The natural-minded man, okay, will always try to bound and keep the spiritual-minded man in bondage, okay? Because if the natural-minded man can do that, that keeps him, the spirit man in you, from being able to be one with God spiritually. All right. That's why we have our battles that we have in our flesh. Okay. That's why Jesus said that we also have a cross to bear, and a cup to drink out of. Okay. If anybody's familiar with that, people always recognize how Jesus was carrying the cross and how he had to get on the cross. See, the cross represents nothing but death and dying anyway. Okay, that's what the cross represents to Christ. Is you have to die. He had to get on the cross and die. It brought forth death. That's where death took place. That was the only way that Jesus could be killed. Was he had to be crucified. If he wasn't crucified, Jesus would have been on the earth to this day, in our present time right now. But in order for God to complete his work in the earth with man, he had to die. So if you're going to be a part of Christ, and Christ is a part of you, Jesus said that every man have his cross to bear. And every man has his own cup to drink from. Now, what is the cup that he's referring to? I'm not getting off on Elijah, because all this always ties into everything that I say. So even though it sounds like that I might have gotten away from Elijah, I haven't. This is just another puzzle piece that I'm adding into the whole total sum of the picture. But he told them to let them know that you also have to die. Well, what do we have to die to? Okay? Jesus already died for the world. So what he's talking about, we got our own cross to carry and we got our own cup to drink from. Our cross that we have to get up on and die of is because it's of our flesh. That's what we got to kill. Not literally, like death is out here in the street that you die and get in the ground. No. You have to die to flesh. The works of the flesh, love for the eye, the pride of life. The natural-minded man. These are the things that keep us from totally being able to commit ourselves to Christ and to God, okay? That he has to get this flesh out of our way, all right? But he left that job for us to do, He said, I died for all of y'all. Now, y'all shouldn't have no problem dying for me in your flesh so that I can use you. Jesus said, if I be lifted up from off the earth, he said, I'll draw all men unto me. And the only way that we're going to be able to draw people to Christ is that we have to die to ourselves first. That's killing the natural-minded man of his ways of thinking, because he'll never be able to understand the things of God. And as long as you try to figure out the things of God through your natural-minded man, you'll never be able to come forth and grow spiritually and manifest yourself like you're supposed to. And this is the main thing what Christ came down here to do, to let us know. He set an example. I had to die in my flesh in order for me to be able to be used by my Father to be able to manifest their self or himself into you. Then you have to go through this same dying process as I did, And that's what we have to learn to do, and to wake up and start recognizing that. So the main thing what me and my son be trying to do through our podcasts is to make you more relevant of who and what you are as a spirit first. Not so much a spirit being, but a spirit of God, came from God, all right? It's a part of himself, you see. You got two manifold manifestations of the Spirit of God operating in you. The first one is the spirit man, which when he said, when he created Adam in the garden, and he said he breathed of himself into Adam, and Adam came a living soul. That's the first part of God. Because you had to have life in you in order to even be living or alive. So that was the first phase of that. When God breathed of himself into that body, which was nothing but dirt. Now this always blew my mind too, is that when God created and made, he said he formed him from the dirt of the earth. Now you take little dirt, like you can go outside right now and dig up dirt. That's what God did when he made, formed and shaped and fashioned Adam. Okay, now where did the flesh part come in at though? When did that transpire? When did that happen? How God turned dirt into where they becomes flesh? People, that's deep. Then he put in the organs and everything what is in us right now. You know, it blows my mind. How, when you think about that, then you really want to know what is going on. And you try to always figure it out with the natural mind. And you will get twisted up and you will get more confused every time. But when you got your spirit mind in operation, then God can reveal to you and start showing you the magnificent, miraculous work that he can do, that nothing is hard or impossible for God to do. See, because when you get all blown out of whack about the things of God, it's not the spirit-minded man in you that get all confused. It's the natural-minded man that do. But when you understand it spiritually, then you can relate to it, and it's no problem why you see why God works and do what he does. Getting back to Elijah, like I said, I'll never just totally get off a point because, like I said, it's like a smorgasbord, you know. But this is just going out to those that always was questioning with themselves, you know, what am I really doing here? You know, like my son was saying, you know, even as a child, you know, Satan have a portfolio of you just like God do when you come into this earth atmosphere. I'm talking in flesh and blood when you're born through your natural parents. All right. As soon as you enter earth atmosphere, even coming out of your mother's womb as being flesh and blood, Satan already got a portfolio on you right there. It's blank though. He had nothing on you. All he knows is that you here. He know he here. You think he don't know you here?
Number one fly god in the building, man. It's all good, brother, man. What's good with you, man? Salute to you too, brother. Go ahead, Pops, man. I just say
so I'm hoping to wake up those YouTube family that know who they are spiritually. That when you're spiritually connected with God, okay, this is all I'm trying to do, to awaken you spiritually, you know. So you be able to know who you are. That's why I always say, always know who you are. Jesus said it many, many times. I know who I am. I know where I come from. And I know where I'm going back to, you know. And when you're aware of who you are spiritually, it'll help you more even be connected with your maker, God, you know. He don't want you to just know him as just knowing him because he exists and no. How did you know God is even God? How did you know the existence of God? It was taught to you some kind of way, you know, brought to your attention to know, you know. There's things that God put in the universal law that just happens anyway with his creation and with man. You know, it's not necessary that somebody has to particularly teach you or bring it out to you. God has it to where that it's going to get to you anyway. You know, especially after you get to a certain age and you start getting curious about different things, you know, everything else that what goes on in the world, you know, and with life, you know, and with the living, you know, with the dead, you know, you are exposed to everything that everybody else is exposed to when you come into this earth atmosphere. Starting with being from the dirt till you are born again or until you are become spiritually awakened, you know. Now, to become spiritually awakened is just simply knowing that that's when you start connecting and getting in touch with God, okay? Spiritual awareness is another thing, see? And mankind is always aware of spiritualness of things and knowing that there's a God, you know. Nobody really taught you that. That's something that's just in you, period, as an individual person. God's going to know and make you sure that you know who you are as far as being spirit to a certain degree, and he's going to definitely let you know who he is. You know, God doesn't do anything secretively or sneaky or cunningly or craftily. You know, that's the works of the devil.
Now, hold on real quick, Pops. Hold on real quick. Hold on. I got to interject.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all hear what my Pops just said, right? This just brings confirmation, like I say, listen. Remember I was sitting here talking to y'all about secret fraternal organizations, secret societies, like the Freemasons and like the, you know, and the Skull and Bones and, you know, even the Boule Society, Sigma Pi Phi Incorporated, you hear me? All of the Divine Nine, the National Panhellenic Council, huh? Remember I tell you about these secret fraternal organizations? Yeshua didn't operate in secrecy in any form or fashion.
Right.
So why would you? So the very fact that government operates in secrecy is repugnant. Who said that? That's an answer to him. Who said that, y'all? Secrecy in a so-called free society is repugnant. John F. Kennedy said that. He was shot down a couple weeks later too after he said that too. And you know what I mean? So the very fact that somebody's operating in secrecy lets us know 9 times out of 10 what? Something's going on that we wouldn't approve of if we knew about it. You hear me? So, you know what I mean? I just wanted to add that to the situation because of what my pops just said, like, no secrecy, man. You're only as sick as your secrets.
Right.
You hear me? And just like the one, I forget what the one group, Rome Republic had that song out talking about I'm going to give all my secrets away. You hear me? No secrets, man. Ain't nothing to be secretive about, man. Because how you going to be secret and think you keeping away from somebody when we all know everything's being archived, just like and monitored, just like my pop said, not just by capital G, capital O, capital D, but also by LSD. You know, soon as you enter into this reality, it's like, you hear me? Go ahead.
And you know, son, and on that note, son, God even said that all things are open unto him anyway.
Right.
So you can't hide anything from God. He's the one that created you. You know, he know your mind, he knows your thoughts, the whole total existence of you. God made that. Okay. If he know every single hair that is on your head, he got numbered. Y'all people hear me? What can you hide from him? What is it about you that you think you can keep from God? Oh, glory, glory, glory. What secret you have of yourself that the one that made and created you that you can hide from him?
Now think about this. Right. Now think about this. What did Adam do? Right. What did Adam do when he heard the voice of God? The voice of God, when he heard the voice of the skull. What did he do?
Hid himself. Ran and hid himself.
Secrecy. Just to bring it full circle, when my pops just said, what thoughts you think you got that's holding a secret that you think you're going to keep from anybody? When God sit there and told that boy Adam, like, man, who told you was naked? He knew off top, like, what you do? Why are you hiding yourself? Suspect off top. You know, who told you that? I find myself saying that a lot to a lot of people now. Who told you that, man? Who told you that? Like, where you get that from? You know what I'm saying, there, man?
And you know what, son? And that's the revelation you bringing that particular example up, going back to the garden with Adam, is that this is what exposed Adam, see, is that when he said that he was afraid, right?
Afraid.
Then he said, I was first he said he hid himself.
He hid himself.
These three things that happened once Adam partook of that tree. He hid himself, right? Then he was afraid. But this is the thing that really busted him out, that what God already knew anyway, but God knew that he did what he told him not to do, was when he said that he knew he was naked. Then God knew then that his physical eyes was open. That was busted him out for real.
That's powerful.
God didn't care nothing about the fact that you was afraid. First of all,
or that he went and hid.
Right.
Who told you was naked, man?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Who told you that?
God didn't say nothing about why you hiding from me.
Right. Why are you afraid?
He never said anything about you even being afraid.
Who told you was
the main
naked,
thing God put emphasis on was that who told you you was naked? See, and then he didn't say how you found out. He didn't find out how you know, who told you. He didn't say how you found out that you was naked. He said, who told you you was naked? So something else led to that, to let him know that he was naked from the beginning, you know. So then that's when God knew that you definitely violated my law. You know, that's how God really, well, God knew it anyway, but it's just the way that God put it in his word to let us see, you know, that how the various different ways that you can be brainwashed, you know, and that when you be disobedient to God, that you pick the most type of way to keep from him knowing what you have done, you know. And that's what God found out, or that was God was letting him know, you know. Well, who told you was naked? Then Adam had to break down, and that's when he knew. That's when Adam knew that God knew that he did what he wasn't supposed to do anyway. See, sometimes you can do something wrong and keep it a secrecy, but it's a certain thing that you would do or you would say that you'll bust your own self out, and that's what busted Adam out when he said, "I was naked."
Now,
why would he have to tell God he was naked? God knew he was naked.
That's ill right there. And the reason why that's ill as it relates to Elijah and John, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know what I'm saying, realizing that you're naked, you hear me, is realizing or letting God know that you have the knowledge of what? Good and evil now. Right?
Right.
And with the knowledge of good and evil comes great responsibility, and also comes at a price too. Something that has to be given in exchange for the knowledge of good and evil, man. You know what I'm talking about?
And also too, son, let it Adam know that he had to admit and confess that he did wrong. See, Adam would never have said anything to God about that whole fall thing that took place when it took place. Yeah. He busted himself out, like I said, that when he said that, when he said he was naked. See, he told on himself, really. See, and that's what we do a lot of times. We'll do something and we think we'll cover it up, but in the end, we'll do something and we'll say something to let us know that we did what we shouldn't have done, and it's for us to recognize that we had did what we shouldn't have done. But so much for God to know. God already knew. He's sitting there watching it all happen and unfold.
Sorry to hear that, Mr. O, man. We got my brother, Mr. O, in the building. Rest in the essence to whoever your peoples was, man. You know what I'm talking about?
Condolences go out to you, Mr. O.
And you ain't never late. You right on time, brother. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button, click on the bell, subscribe to the page. Make sure it's social engineering, man. We discussing not the prophet, but the messenger, Elijah and John the Baptist. I want to point something out to y'all too, though, man. My brother Larry Gators put me up on this game too, man. Every prophet is a seer, but not every seer is a prophet. Right. Did y'all hear what I said? You know what I mean? So, that goes back to the only, many are called, but few are chosen type situation. You know what I'm saying? Just because you've been given the ability to the sight to see doesn't mean that you've been given the ability to prophecy, and vice versa. Right? Right. But every person who sees can prophesy. But everybody who prophesy doesn't necessarily have to see. You did.
So true, so true.
Right. This is in order to get this, man. You have to have a relationship, man. You hear me? This is something that has to be bestowed upon you. This is not something that you come upon on your own volition, so to speak, of your own will, so to speak. Now, you practice your will to be able to be open to receive it, but as far as like how it comes and all that stuff, you ain't got no choice over all that. You know what I mean? And like I said, I'm learning stuff that I didn't even know, you know what I'm saying, concerning Elijah and John. You feel me? This is stuff that's connecting dots for me on a whole nother level, you know what I'm saying? So like I said, I appreciate Mr. O for bringing this up. I never thought it would extend into a part 2. You know what I'm saying? But it is, and we hear this a beautiful thing, man. Click on the bell, subscribe to the page, smash that like button, share your social engineering, man. We got my pops, Virgil Berry Sr. in the building. We're breaking down the spiritual roots of John, or Elijah the messenger, and John the Baptist, man. Go ahead and talk to him, pops.
Yeah, Mr. O, like I said, sorry, you have my condolences for the loss of your loved ones.
Yes.
Earlier this morning, I was going over some of our podcasters, our past podcasters, and I was listening to the one about life and death. And if you have that, where you recorded it when we made that, listen to that in your spare time when you can. Got to help you get through your R right now of bereavement, okay? And shout out goes to all your loved ones, and
you already know.
Once you understand, what that was all about, that the Spirit just led me to have you listen to that particular podcast, and it'll help. It helps so it will. It'll comfort you. Believe me.
That's the one my pops is talking about. He's talking about the one when you look on the thumbnail. The thumbnail is life and death on. It's like 2 weights on like a balance, like a seesaw type situation. And they got the word life on one side and death on the other side. The spiritual roots of life and death.
Right. That'll be a comforter to you.
Yeah,
but right now we bringing out Mr. O because this is also something that you had, requested, and I'm glad, say at the end of the day, nothing sometimes but the enemy to try to keep you from getting what God wants you to know anyway, but he can't stop it, he cannot stop it, and because this goes out to you because that's something that God is working with you. That's a ministry of yours for whatever reason that God has it, but he wants you to know more about the prophet Elijah and even to the New Testament, John the Baptist, because one is a sent one and the other one is a messenger, okay? And Elijah was getting prepared to do that works of God that he wanted him to do for him, so God had to get him into a place where that he could be able to be used by God, all right? I believe this is what's going on with you, Mr. O.
What's good?
You're chosen. You're a chosen one. For you to fall into that category of to want to know, that's something that I never really even got into depthness of wanting to know or hunger for. Was about Elijah the prophet. I studied on him and I read about him, but for it to be particularly for you to want to know about these two from the Old Testament to the New Testament. That's why I said once before, it kind of blew my mind, because I was saying, wow, out of all the things that he could have asked to want to know about, it's funny that it was about the prophet of the Old Testament and then about John the Baptist of the New Testament. And then as I began to study and dig into this, I already knew that John was a messenger, but I didn't know the connection that he had with Elijah and Elijah had with him.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's what blew me away. Then I began to start looking more into it, and I recognized and saw that even far as the natural mindedness of the men that they were, the similarity of things they had in common. That Elijah constantly was on the move. God had him moving throughout the earth, you know.
Right.
And that he was, so it was always like a wilderness for him. He never was stationary in no one place at one given time.
Right.
He was always on the move, you know. But the thing with John was that John was stationary.
Mm-hmm.
But they both was like in the wilderness. They were both never was around people on a social level. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
They were never around a group of people just interacting with people on a regular basis. They were always off to themselves somewhere, you know. And Elijah, that's the way he was. And then their garments. Now, this what linked me on. This is where the Holy Spirit gave me the revelation of why that it was of the same self-spirit of God, from God, a part of God, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That was in both men. Because Elijah had a garment. His clothing was made out of hair. I covered that last week. John was covered with hair, camel hair, his clothing.
Mm-hmm.
They both had a leather belt strapped around each one of them, okay? Elijah, his garment became his mantle. That's where all the power of God could manifest himself through in the earth when he wanted to show man who he was, just to keep the thing going on between him and his creation, right? And to let the rest of the world knows that he is a man of God. He's from God. That God is still active in the natural realm spiritually, okay? These are some of the things that Elijah did, Mr. O. And I said this to you because I feel that this is something particularly God wants you to know. Whatever ministry he had for you, whatever works that he had for you, is tied in to something that has to do with Elijah being the prophet of the Old Testament and John the Baptist being who he was in the New Testament. One's a prophet, one's a messenger. Right? But they both are operating out of the same self-spirit, which is that of God. Not your spirit, man, in you, okay? But the total spirit of what is of God in the spirit realm, that he is going to work through you, all right? I'm just saying it as the spirit giving it to me. You understand what I'm saying, Mr. O? You know, because this last part 2 of this podcast definitely goes out to you and locking it up for the last time of this being part 2 of this, okay? Because you requested it. So it's something that God wants you to know, okay? And give you confirmation on. And only you and God knows what is going on between you and God. And for you to ask for this particular topic, then this is why that he gave it to me, to be able to give it back to you, so you will hear his voice coming from me. Not so much the voice of Virgil Sr., but the voice of what God's telling you, know that everything what you've been going through and everything what you've been thinking about and wanting to know about that has to do with him and you, you're right on, okay? You're right on the money with it. That's what he's letting you know. He's letting you know that you got to go, okay? These are some of the things that he's going to do through you. Now listen, and this is from last week, because these are some of the works of what Elijah did. I don't know what your mantle is. That's your power source, okay? That's what Elijah's mantle was. It was his power source, all right? Him and Elijah was crossing the Jordan River. I thought that God only separated the waters with the children of Israel back in Pharaoh's day when he came up out of bondage and crossing the Red Sea. And God told Moses, which Moses told Aaron, because Aaron was Moses' speaking post, okay? Spokesperson, let me say. Took his rod and told him, touch the water. And when Aaron touched the waters with the rod of Moses, the whole Red Sea parted. You know how big the Red Sea is? And it parted. Water on the left, water on the right. I've always asked it. It don't blow my mind how he did it. It blows my mind the way that he did it. Was it no ocean life disturbed? All the ocean creation that was in the water still was in the water doing what they was doing, you know. And I asked him, how would you ever do that? He spoke to the waters and told the waters to part and don't go nowhere, just like the way the oceans do right now. That when you're on the beach and the waves will come up so far the water, and then it'll go so far up, then to come back in. But that's what he told the waters when he parted it. You stay here, you stay there. And keep that gap until I don't want that gap there no more. The waters obeyed God through Moses. See, the water obeyed God.
Let me say this. Right? That's powerful right there, man. Let me tell y'all something, man. And this is why they poison our water. And this is why our water, which we have waste water treatment facilities, right? You feel me? Lucifer, spelled backwards, is recycle, which means the recycling of fecal matter or shit. You hear me?
Right. Waste.
Waste.
That's why it's called waste.
That's why it's called waste. Waste water treatment, not wastewater healing, not even wastewater purification, right? But wastewater treatment, right? And most of the water is fecal matter, urine, and excrement from pharmaceutical intake. That's what makes up the wastewater majority. Recycle, Lucifer spelled backwards. Everything that God has in natural harmony and balance, Lucifer has a counterfeited version of, man. You hear me?
Always, everything.
Now think about this, man. My pop said water. And that's powerful. You know, it said when God speaks, he has the voice of many waters. That's powerful, right? The voice of many waters. Man,
yes,
listen,
it is.
y'all understand how powerful water is, man? I think water is the most pristine and purest depiction, manifestation of the power of the Most High, man, in this reality anyway. Remember Bruce Lee said you gotta be like water. Now think about this, and I'm gonna pass it back to my pops concerning water. You can manipulate water with sound. Hear me, pops, man. You can manipulate water with sound, but you can't manipulate the sound of water.
That's a revelation, son. That's a revelation on a deeper look and a deeper look in when it's concerning water. And it's also another attribute of Christ, of God. That's what Jesus was talking about to the woman at the well. The water that I have. You know, you'll never thirst again. You know, water is being used throughout the whole Bible, from Genesis to Revelation. It's very important to know certain things that God uses that has more profound significance to than other things. And he was letting Elijah see and know that I'm doing all this, okay? But I need you to do all this too, because these are the powers that is of me, that if you are where you're supposed to be in me, that I can manifest them through you. Mr. O, this is what it's been said. That's why you chose this particular topic more than you even realize, that you did. All right. God is speaking to you and letting you know that not so much that you are a prophet, but you are a chosen one, of God for whatever reason, And these are the things that he wants you to start preparing yourself for. And these are the things that he will begin to start able to do through you once you and him connect and you be where you supposed to be with him, okay? And he's just letting you know why that you are so curious about wanting to know how, and like I said, that's what blew me away, Elijah the prophet, how you tied the old with the new, and John the Baptist, like I said, he was a messenger, Well, you are a messenger. You have your own podcast, see? So God is preparing you for your ministry, whatever it is, I know that if you know God is real and you believe in God,
what's up, baby?
And you know that you have that relationship with God, all he's doing is just drawing you closer to him. Me and my son, we have covered so many podcasts and so many topics and conversations. We're wrapping all this up because, like I said, this is the second part of this. But because you requested it, this is more for you than it is for everybody else. It's for the YouTube family too, for those who have ears to hear. Because some way, form, shape, or fashion, this also relates to you, YouTube people individually out there, wherever that it relates to you at, You get in where you fit in, It was Mr. O that bought it all out to everybody and for everybody anyway. Okay. So I appreciate it and I thank him for that. But these are the various different things that what he was able to do through Elijah. Same way that God is letting you know there's so many ways that he will be able to do through you, And don't worry about how it's going to come from, where it's going to come from, because you will know when he wants you to know it, But these are the great works that he knows that he can do through you. The same way that he did the great works with and through Elijah, He shut it up, the skies. He stopped rain for 3.5 years. That was the worst drought that the whole earth have ever experienced. Because it didn't just stop raining in one area of the earth. The whole earth was without water when Elijah shut it up for 3.5 years. Okay. Same way it was that when he had the situation with Baal, that they was worshiping false gods. And God's people was being drawn to that, and being caught up into that. So God said, no, Elijah, this is what you got to do. You're going to have to challenge the gods, Gods, okay? Lord God.
Lowercase.
To let them know that I am the one and only true living God. So I want you to build an altar and have them build an altar. This is in the word. This actually happened. And I want them to put their offering or their sacrifice, because like I said, there's a difference between a sacrifice and an offering. They was putting sacrifices on their altars because they was killing up and cutting themselves and throwing children on the fire, calling out the Baal, Elijah's offering, and he didn't do his thing until later on that evening. This was happening early in the morning when it started from the beginning of all this. So the prophets of Baal, they were putting their children on the fire for sacrificing. They were cutting them own selves, calling on their gods, And Elijah, he start mocking them. But where's your God? Don't he have ears to hear you? Why are you doing all this to yourself, to call on your God? Because Elijah knows that he's the only one serving the true living God. So Elijah, when he built his altar, he built a trench around his altar, filled it with water. all the way around his altar, the trench full with water. Soak the wood, soak the offering that he put on it, because Elijah, he had an offering. That's why it went on later on that evening, because in the evening they would give up grain offerings. And that's what Elijah was doing at that time. That's why he waited until the evening, that he was giving up a grain offering to God. But he soaked it everything in water 3 or 4 times. So ain't nowhere in the world could nothing burn that when it's that wet and soaked in water. And after all that happened, then Elijah, he called on his God. Because like I said, the Spirit of God was not in Elijah, but it hovered over Elijah.
You got to be in you, man, not on you, man.
See, Jesus Christ has not yet came on the scene, because you still talking Old Testament times, so it wasn't nothing about the Holy Ghost being there, and Jesus Christ coming in for salvation of the man. So when God was working through his people and was helping his people and was there for his people, that's how he manifested himself through his people, okay? That's so where that the rest of what Baal and his people, the Gentiles, as I said before, they could see the manifestations of God coming into the earth atmosphere with their eyes, their physical eyes, okay? So when he called on God and told God, all right, now I'm going to show y'all my God. All the lightning, fire, same fire. This is the same fire that destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. See, God only has one eternal fire, but it's a lake of it. He have a lake of eternal fire. So he can use it anytime he get ready. And that's what he did when he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. He brought down fire and brimstone. Same thing he did when Elijah called on God to accept his offering. That was the whole concept of to show you who God was really, a real, true, living God. Because when you call on them, that the offering, that what you put on the altar with, that you would get a manifestation of showing that your God would manifest himself. That's what that showed and proved. That's why Elijah did that. The prophets of Baal, they called and called and called, nothing happened. Elijah even started teasing them and mocking them. Was your God deaf? Is your God asleep? Now after he got through this, he really mocked them. Because he knew they didn't know no real living God. So after he let them do all what they was doing, clear up until in the evening. These prophets of Baal, it was maybe a 16, maybe 12-hour thing was going on with them. They started early that morning and end up until later on that evening. Until they knew they couldn't do anything. So Elijah said, all right, now let me show y'all who the true living God is. And that's when he called upon his God one time. As soon as he called upon his God one time, bam, God sent down that bolt of fire. Totally, not only consumed the altar, the trench of water that was around the altar, everything that was soaking wet on the altar, and a wide perimeter of where up the earth, the ground was at, it burned it out. It was just like a huge fire just came down to just a certain amount of area of the earth that it seemed like that it just burned it up. You can see the blackness of around the ground like a huge circle that God did to show that this is me. This is the true living God. Wasn't just taking the stuff off the altar, but he destroyed the whole area with his fire. And I'm saying all that to say, Mr. O, that's a part of what God is letting you see, that's how he uses and manifests himself through his people. Okay. Another thing that Elijah did was that he raised Mormon's son from the dead. See, all this is just showing God's power in the earth. To let you know that when he has a calling on you, that you will prepare yourself. I just had accident spilling my water. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, YouTube people. But I'll be all right. Speaking of water, here I do spill my cup of water. Isn't that something? But anyway.
My cup runneth over, man.
Yes, it do. Yes, I got a little excited too, Now, but John the Baptist was that you a messenger as well. everything what God chooses his people to do and to be of, it's not just for yourself, it's for everybody else, you know. And he's letting you know that you are going to be like one that is crying out in the wilderness, you know, to those who that you are connected with, all right? And saying your podcast is just the foundation of this whole thing is what that I've been sharing with you about two prophets, or rather the prophet and the messenger, see? So the prophet just simply means sent one, see? And then John the Baptist was a messenger, see? So you are chosen one that is going to be sending messages out to the world and to the people that who you know, that God has for you to do in the earth, you know, being God's chosen people, you know. Jesus said, many are called, but few are chosen. Now, at this point, Elijah moves on. He knows he's a man of God. He knows he's serving the living God. This will apply to you. That's for your ears to hear, you know, because you know who you are and where you at in your relationship with God, the true living God. No one else can say that. No one else can know that, but truly you. So this message is also really confirmation, like I said earlier, and a whole lot of things, you know, that you already now know, and whatever that you was curious about or didn't know about, now you have a more understanding and a revelation of. All right. That's why you chose the two, you know, from the old is because you are a sent one, and from the new one is because of these last days that we live in, you know, that where Christ came in and made the provision for us to be able to do what we supposed to be doing in him. Because now you have the things working for you in operation that you can legally do that through the spirit realm. You feel what I'm saying? The spiritual powers that you have, that you won't be here illegal no more in the earth. That God can use you like he wants to use you to do the works that he wants you to do, you know, and to let know really the enemy know, you know, that hey, everything that he does, he has the legal right to do it spiritually. All right. So you just really being really reconnected or connected with whatever that your ministry is and whatever the calling that God have on your life. He's just letting you know that it's a go, you know, go. Continue to do what you've been doing, you know, as far as has to do with your spiritual life and your salvation and with your relationship with God, you know.
Right.
And this also goes out to all the other YouTube family. All right. This applies to you in your own unique, significant way. Because a lot of you also got confirmation and revelation off of these podcasts too, the last two. One last week and one this week, you know. Thanks to our brother Mr. O, you know. That's a blessing that he shared with all of us, you know, because it should do something to all of us, you know. It's also was for all of us in our own way, you know. Just like I said before, it's like a smorgasbord, you know what I'm saying? It's like when you go to Golden Corral, you pay one price, and everything in there that you want to eat, you can eat, you know. But that's the way this was. You know what I'm saying? Your one price that you paid was that you listened and you tuned in to this podcast. Oh, hello. Okay.
Hit that like button, man. Click on the bell. Subscribe to the page, man. Share your social engineering. You know what I'm talking about, man? It's a smorgy board. You know what I'm talking about? It's a smorgy board. Man, just the smorgasbord, just the variety of just straight lace game. You know what I'm talking about, man? Nobody putting y'all up on breaking down these scriptures like this. Not too many people anyway, man. Make sure y'all tap in and walk with us. You know what I'm talking about?
And I'd just like to give a shout out right now to my YouTube family. That we are on this spiritual journey.
Talk to them.
Only you know your place and where you're at with the true living God. You have to be connected to him, because if you wasn't, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast. So we all are the family. Not only just you, my YouTube family, you are my spiritual family in God. All right. The brothers and sisters, the body of Christ, the spiritual body of Christ. All right. that I be speaking of when I say this, all right? That in the last days, this is what Jesus said, that the all of creation, or the rest of creation, moan and groan, are in pain and waiting for the manifestations of the sons and daughters of God to manifest themselves in the earth. Because this is the only way, and this is the way that God set it up to be, to do and to finish and to wrap up the rest of his works that has to do with creation. It's through us, okay? That's the whole purpose why Christ came down on the scene, all right? To reconnect us back to who we are first as being a spirit. Listen to me, YouTube family. As a spirit first, all right? Because that's where we came from the beginning, even before we became dirt.
Right.
Even before we became fleshly, human, physically. We were a spirit first. That's what you are.
Yeah, even before we became a living soul.
Exactly.
We
was just...
Y'all thought y'all soul and y'all spirit was the same thing? Oh, ye of so little understanding.
And this is a footnote and a revelation. That's why God created man from the dirt of the earth, because it was physical, it was natural. He had to even to be able to put us, to make us even a human spirit, okay? That we still had to have a body and be here legally, because we were still spirit now. That's why I said that it was just a part of God, as him being the total spirit and the whole total sum of being a spirit. See, he took a piece of himself to put into the physical dirt, so that it was still, he had to still be here legally just to be in us as being dirt. When he made us, he said he's gonna make us. Okay, he formed us from the dirt and the earth and fashioned and shaped us. Okay, that was the vessel. Oh, more revelation. That became the vessel for him to be able to be in legally. Even when he created and made us, because it was still a part of him, and he still had to be here even to that first part of us to even be here legally. That's why he said that he made us in his likeness and in his image, and he said he called it man, okay, because he took that other natural realm, because that's what it was when he created the world, the earth. It wasn't the world then, it was never a world. It was always the earth. And he took that dirt, because it was physical, it was natural, it was tangible. Now he said, now in order for me to even begin the first beginning to start being here in this earth legally, even to have this earth that I used, he was making that, using it for that he can be in us anyway. That was the first phase of him doing that as a spirit. That's why when he breathed of himself, he said, now that this is what I need to be here legally. Oh, that's why my son Revelation. That's why when you said that Adam wasn't the first Adam. Wow. Adam wasn't the first man. You feel what I'm saying? That ties into that right there.
He was because the first of his kind.
God was the first man. It was him of himself. He breathed into that, didn't he?
You think that's air you breathing?
That what made him to be here legally, period. That was just the first part of him, for him to just be here in the earth legally. Now, in order for him to be able to be here legally now, to manifest his powers as being a spirit, because of what he is and how he was to be in the earth, see? Because then he was coming here as totally the fullness of himself.
Right.
All right? So he had, even that part of him had to be here legally, because that part at that time didn't have no vessel. Let's check it out. See, him as being who he is, God, the spirit, he didn't have no vessel. He already occupied that part of himself when he made Adam and breathed of himself in Adam, so that Adam which was the dirt, you know. In fact, he had to name and call him Adam. And Adam, just like my son and I said, Adam means the first of. Kind. K-I-N-D. Not K-I-N-E. Okay? See, that's the difference. What made him the first and only of his kind, K-I-N-D, was because it was the Spirit of God. Because he was made in the image and the likeness of God. Only Adam was. Chew on that. That's what he said. Adam was the first man of that kind. God said, let me breathe of myself in him, and then he'll become a living soul. And then I now have a right, a part of me, to be here legally. Oh, another revelation. That's why Jesus was said to be known of, that when he got filled with the Holy Spirit, and I think I brought this out once before, YouTube family, that's when the fullness of God was in Christ.
Yeah.
The fullness of God has never been in any other man. It wasn't even in, he wasn't even the fullness of himself in it when he created and made Adam. He said he breathed of himself. And that was just a little bit of himself that he put into Adam in order for Adam to become a living soul. Okay? But that wasn't the full Godhead in Adam. It was just the breath of God. Okay? That's just like you can take a whole bowl, and like I said, I'm a retired chef. I can make a whole bowl of cornbread batter. And look at all the things that I can make with that cornbread batter. I can make corn cakes. I can make cornbread. I can make corn fritters.
Corn muffins.
Corn muffins. Corn cakes. See? It's all still the same batter, but I'm only using a little bit of that batter. And I still got a big whole bowl of batter left. Well, that's the way it was when God created Adam in the garden. And he said he breathed of himself in Adam, and Adam became a living soul. That was just a little bit part of himself he put into Adam. Wasn't the whole totality of himself into Adam. That's why Adam couldn't do anything other than what Adam did. And that's what was in the spirit, and that was in the body of every other man from that point on that was born into the earth. Because he told Adam to be fruitful and multiply. So the same thing that was in Adam from the beginning, that was in all mankind. Never the totalness of God of himself into one particular vessel. You follow me, YouTube family? So after the fall took place, the man began to start multiplying in the earth. That's why God said that he will not lose anything, speaking to himself, of himself. So if just that little bit part of him was in Adam from the beginning of the garden, and then as the fall took place and Adam began to multiply and fill the earth, that was also in all of the rest of mankind that was born in the earth. God still not had the totalness of who he was yet been able to be into mankind. But he still had that one little portion of it that he had of himself when he gave himself to Adam in the garden, when he breathed into Adam. He want that back. You multiply that by billions and billions and billions of times that is in flesh of man, of that being a part of his spirit. Okay, that's why we are spirit beings. He want all that back. You put all that together, that's a big portion of God, of his spirit in mankind. That's what he's coming back for. That's why he discarded the flesh. It ain't the flesh he want. It ain't even so much the soul. But it's the spirit of who he is, that what he put in Adam from the beginning of himself in the garden. And that's what he want back. And that part of his spirit is in all of us. But he said, I want to be able to reconnect back with man. He also has to get that part of his spirit he put in Adam, which is now in us. He has to also get that back. You feel what I'm saying, you two people? He wants that back too. And that's from out of each one of us. But he also wants us to be able to be literally, to be back to him spiritually. See, we're that part piece of the spirit of him that also have to be right to get back to him. All right? They have to be burnt out of everything that was in us from the natural point of when we was created. You know, we can't get back into the spirit realm until God does what he has to do in order to get us back to the spirit realm. The spirit being that is us and a part of him. Not a part of us, a part of him. See, we're a part of him, so he can become a part of us. All right? Now that we are part of him, in order for us to get back to him, we have to do what we have to do in order to get back to him. So what I'm saying? Because then the spiritual part of him that he left in Adam and is now in us, it's defiled. It's not pure. That's what the eternal lake of fire is all about. You think he's burning out everything that is in you from your soul, which we was hitting on this before, a couple of podcasts before. Well, even with Abraham, we were saying about the rich man and Lazarus, all right? When we were talking about, that's in also the podcast of life and death, the spiritual of life and death. Okay, that's connected to that. This is a part of why he's doing that, and that's why the process is like that. That he's not burning out of so much of things that was in your soul,
Right.
because the flesh is no longer a part of this equation now, right? So it's your soul and it's your spirit. In order for him to be able to totally bring his spirit of himself back to us from where it's been in this body of ours and all the things that it went through, it has to be holy. He said, God said he's a what? He's a holy God. See? And the state that we're in right now, the spiritual part of us that he left in us to be alive, that's the only way that we are alive. It's not pure. It's not pure. Not in his standard, you know. It's defiled. The spirit part of him is defiled. That's what has to be burned out of it. It has to come back to being 100% what it was before he breathed himself into Adam. You hear what I'm saying? It's just like a whole, thank you, Holy Ghost. It's just like a whole bunch of grapes. You got a bunch of grapes on a vine. Sometimes some of the grapes didn't make it. Some of them are bruised. Some of them are busted. They're not in the whole total state of what they're supposed to be. And that's the way the spiritual part of us that God put in us of himself, that it's not right yet to come back to him totally the way it was when it left up out of him. You follow me what I'm saying? So that's why we go through this process of being purged. The eternal lake of fire. That's why I say everybody that listens to that podcast of the spiritual life of death, spiritual life of death and life, listen to it again. If you have it recorded or if you got it again. I listened to it earlier this morning and it even blew me away even more. Gave me a more deeper understanding of what's going on. Because that's a powerful message right there. Because it clears up a whole lot of doubt and wondering and questions and answers that you want to know about that. Because it still all relates to you. And it's about you, you know. That's why I said that it'll help comfort you too, Mr. O, since you just lost a loved one, you know. That's just what God wants you to hear and listen to again. And it'll knock out any and everything right now that's trying to come at you and attack you about your bereavement that you're going through right now. Because it'll give you comfort, you know. But also for the rest of our YouTube family, you know, it's time for us to wake up, knowing who you are, all right? Because there's Elijah and there's John the Baptist and a whole lot of us. You hear me? And a lot of us, all right? And a lot of us are chosen. A lot of us are called, all right? A lot of us do have compassion for mankind, you know. More important, you have compassion and you have love for God, the true living God, you know. This is a revelation and this is awakening that what God showed me a while back, that God is moving moving real powerfully in the earth today, you know, to where there are things that what people never knew about him spiritually, he's exposing and him showing himself more and more through his creation. That's what the whole purpose was, him coming down here in the flesh of Jesus Christ. See, to lock it in and to lock it down, that he said, I will lose nothing, you know, and that we will become back now a part of him to where we was in the beginning before all this even happened. Okay. He made it that provision and he made it to where that we can. That's why Jesus Christ said, okay, he came down here as Jesus Christ, but he was still the Word. He was the Word. He was the spoken word. See, you got the written word, then you got the spoken word, but it's still the same self word. When you read in the Bible about the things that Jesus Christ was saying, he's talking to you right then. It's not just so much that you are also reading the written word, you are also hearing the written word speak to you. All right. This is a revelation that God gave me a while back, YouTube family. That's why I love the book of John. Not the first, second, third John, but I'm talking about within the Gospels of the 4 books. See, a lot of people think that John, the book of John in the 4 Gospels, is not a part of the 4 Gospels. All right. That was the last statement, and that was the last, how can I put it, affirmation of what Christ and God was doing and saying about himself as being the Word of God. That's why everything that is written, that when Jesus was spoken then in the book of John, and notice in Revelation, in the book of John, of the part of the 4 Gospels, that whenever Jesus is speaking, it's always in red. Have anybody ever wondered why that was and why that is like that? That there was other certain times in the first 3 books of the Gospels, Matthew, Luke, and Mark, that there's only certain times that when he spoke in red, that it was written in red. And then the other times that he spoke, it was in black and white, or it was in black ink. And then there's other times when he spoke, it was in red ink. This is the revelation to why. Because when he would be speaking and it was written in black letters, that was Jesus Christ speaking. Oh, come on. That was Jesus Christ speaking. But when the red letters appeared, that was the spoken word. That's why it appeared in red. That was the word itself speaking. And it wasn't Jesus Christ speaking, but it was actually the word speaking. It blew me away when God showed me that revelation. Because I wonder why sometimes he would speak in red and sometimes it would be in black letters. Sometimes it's in red letters. Because whenever it's in red letters, then that's showing you because the blood, okay? And that's what red represents. Like me and my son said earlier before when we was talking about wines, you know. That's what red represents. So whenever that he was speaking, it was in red. That was actually the word, the living word speaking through Christ, okay? Or through Jesus. Christ is just mean anointed one. But it was speaking through the body of Jesus Christ was the word, okay? When you see it written in red. I know it sounds like I might be repeating myself, but I'm trying to get to where to lock into y'all the differences. Because when you start reading your word again, and when you start reading that word, when Jesus is speaking, you see that it's in red letters, that is actually the word speaking to you then. And you can, and if you really listen and hearing with your spiritual ears and seeing it with your spiritual eyes, that your spirit and his spirit, because it's one spirit, it'll connect. And you'll know he's actually talking to you. That's deep. To you. The same way I'm sitting here talking to you right now and y'all see me. And y'all hear me. That's the same way it is when you read it in the Bible. And when you see the words, letters read in it when Jesus is speaking, then he's talking to you. Just like I'm talking to you right now, that's what he does when he's talking to you. That's why you notice his words is always saying ye, or thou, or though. It's always a one-on-one conversation between you and you reading the word as you read what he is saying. Okay? He's actually speaking to you. That'll blow you away the next time. Any of y'all should do that. Read that and see that, and you'll see what I'm talking about. God telling me to say this right now because it's going to blow all y'all away when y'all do it. When he said, I say unto you. You read that word and then you hearing Jesus say, I say unto you. Who you think he talking to? That's revelation right there. And that's even more revelation for me right there. Because it'll make me be more aware of now that when I read my word and when I read the letters and see them in red, I know that Jesus is directly talking to me as being the word and not as being the Son of Man, but the Son of God. So I have to make a move, so you're going to have to just put me on pause for a minute. I have to go to the little boys' room. I'm going to let my YouTube family know, and I'll be right back. So you can interject some things there on that. Hear me, son? Hello? Hello? What happened? Hello? 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 What happened, son? Did you hear me?
No, what you say?
Oh, you went out. I was saying I wanted to be excused for a minute. I couldn't hear anything. I was kept saying hello, 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 and didn't get no response.
Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, that's what happened.
We in the building, man. Click on the bell, subscribe to the page. You know what I'm talking about? Share on your social engineer. You know what I'm talking about? We going in on old Elijah. Not Elisha, but Elijah. Yeah. And John the Baptist. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Click on the bell, subscribe to the page, share on your social engineer, man. Let's go. Go ahead and talk to him.
Yeah, you hear me, son?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I mean, it seemed like temporary that I lost volume with you.
No, I just had the mute on, that's all.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm wondering what was going on. I'm just saying hello, 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 hello. I didn't know what was going on. I got ready to start rebuking and start doing my spiritual warfare. All right. I checked my phone and everything, my earphones. I was saying that I had to run to the little boys' room, and I wanted you to just put me on pause for a minute. But then when that came out, I didn't get no response from you. I didn't know what had happened.
Right.
So I was telling you,
we in the building. Let's go.
Okay, well, all right. Well, then I have to step out for a minute, okay?
Go ahead. Do you? Just
all right.
Go ahead, come
all
right back. You know what I'm talking about? Don't sit up there and come on right back. You dig me, man? Spiritual Rule Sunday, man. Listen here, y'all, man. You hear me? You know what I'm saying? You gotta use your higher thinking, man. You know what I'm talking about? When it comes to this here, man. You know what I'm saying? You can't use your regular brain. You know what I'm talking about? And you can't even really use your regular mind, man. You gotta use the mind that was given to you. You know what I'm talking about? Not the mind that you have. You know what I'm talking about? And you gotta know the difference. You know what I'm saying? And maybe this stuff will be revealed to you. Maybe sometime, maybe it's not your time, man. Maybe it's just not your time yet. It's not your season. It's your unseasoned ass. You feel me? Let me he got some type of echoing that's going on over there. You good?
All right, I'm good. All right.
All right, go
I
ahead,
ain't
man.
got okay. See, I haven't gotten to the age yet where I have to worry about wearing some Depends or them baby diapers. So thank God for that, though. They talking about for those who have leakage problem. Hey, I call it what it is. It ain't no leakage problem, no bowel leakage problem. It's that you be peeing on yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Not leakage
Call it what it
problems.
is. Yeah, it's not a leakage problem. You just wet on yourself. But so my YouTube family, I was saying and sharing all that with y'all. You know, is that it's time for us to wake up and be aware of what's going on in the world today. You know, and knowing who you are and what part you play. You know,
Right.
and we want to get on board, then God let you know, come on, let's do this and let's get on board. You know, because like I said, we are the spiritual body of Christ in the world today. You know, in the earth. You know, and everything that what God's going to do, He's going to do it through His spiritual church. That's us. That's you. That's me. Believe it or not. That's who have always used to get things done in a part of his planning and his plan and unfolding in earth. It has always been man. He knew that from the very beginning. That's why that was the first thing he created was man. And that's something when you look at it that way, because he knew he was going to use and need us anyway. And plus, like I said before, he was lonely. Has just been a spirit. You know, it wasn't even no heavens. It wasn't even no earth. It wasn't even no devil. It wasn't even no Lucifer. It wasn't even no angels. It wasn't nothing that what we know that God has created from this point out that before it was none of that. It was just him, himself as being a spirit. And I think I cleared it up once before when I said that a spirit is an entity, his deity. All right. Now that's just what he was and what he is from the very beginning. Like I said, in the beginning, God. He comes in introducing himself as God. That was so that we would be able to recognize and know who and what he was. That was his introduction to us, to let us know. In other words, well, what shall I call you? And that's something that he let the whole world and the rest of all of mankind, from Adam clear on up to where we at today, that we are a God, Gods. But he is God. So if you want to call me something, then call me God. Ain't it funny how he told the rest of the world, and the rest of the world, even to this point in day and time, we know him as God? Listen, people, another revelation I'm getting.
Talk to him.
We have always related and called him and known him as God. That's what he tells everybody. That's what everybody know him as of, being God. But look what he told Moses when he was on the mountain and was giving him the 10 Commandments. When Moses asked him, well, who shall I say that sent me? He said, tell them I am that I am.
I am that I am, man. That's all that I am, man. You think I said I am what I am? Listen here, man. Yeah. Hey, listen, hey, man, listen. I am what I am, and that's all that I am, and I am that I am.
But the rest of the world, even from this point on, we always know him as God. But he told Moses, I am that I am. Why? Because in the beginning, it says God, he introduced himself as God, but yet he let us know who he was before anything else was, that the Spirit, that the Spirit did what? Moved upon the face of the deep. That was who he really was when he said that the Spirit. First thing is mentioned on that, the Spirit. The Spirit, that is who he is. That's the identity. That's the entity of who he is. That's the deity of who he is. He's a spirit. So I've always said that he that worship me must worship me in what? In spirit and in truth. He didn't say nothing about worship me in God, who I am. He said in spirit.
He didn't say worship me in flesh either.
Didn't. So you don't never ever have to worry about YouTube family to say, well, who is God?
That's why your
It's
skin
not
ain't
who.
gonna get you in.
And I'm going to bust a bubble with a lot of religious people and different other type of people that believe that what color God was. Well, first of all, God wasn't no color at all. God doesn't have a color.
He's beyond color.
Unless you want to relate it to the rainbow. But that ain't even God. God said who he is. There should never be no confusion about who God is. He's a spirit. That's what he said. I am a spirit. People don't worship a spirit. They say they worship God. Right? That's terminology is always used. But God said, he that who worship me, first he must worship me first in spirit. Because that's what I am. And in truth. And that's what we have to do. That's what we have to know. We have to realize that God first is a spirit. Him being called God is just an identity of who he is as a spirit. See, I'm a human being, but you call me Virgil Berry. Huh. Same way. Same foundation. Same format. YouTube family, it's time for us to wake up and get on the ball about God's business and redeeming. Same way that Christ came down here to redeem not only man back to himself like Adam had with him in the garden, but also to redeem our relationship as a man back to God that Adam had with him in the garden. Now, the spiritual part of us is what he wants to restore. You feel me? That was the two-part ministry of Jesus Christ and his works and his job was not only to redeem and bring back the fellowship with God and man, but also with God and his spirit that is in man. Because he said, I'll lose nothing. What you think he's talking about? He said he'll lose nothing. He's talking about nothing that has to do with him as being a spirit. He will lose none parts of him as a spirit. He want all of it back. The whole total sum of that part of him that have ever been in every man in this earth, that have been in this earth from the start, from Adam all the way up into this present time now. That's still part of him as his spirit is in man, in you, in me, in every baby that's born in this earth. Period. Only ones he don't have to worry about getting back from him that is in earth and in flesh blood is just from the seed of Satan. He's going into the lake of fire. To get all that burned up out of him as being the spirit that what he was as a spirit before he fell, being Lucifer in the heavens anyway. If God gonna restore us back to himself as being a spirit, where you think everything in the spiritual realm, all the celestial creation and creatures and stuff are? What do you think they are? They're spirit too. That's what Lucifer was, remember?
Right.
So to restore him back to his first state, he's gonna have to go into the fire too, as a spirit. For God to be able to bring that back into the total sum of who he is. See? It's just like every time a human being is going to this earth, that's a little bit piece of the spirit part of who God is in that flesh. And if Satan left his first state of where he was at as being the archangel and had all this evilness and stuff brought into him or was into him, he also has to be purged too. That's why God also threw him down here with us. You know, he's a part of us in that particular aspect of us. You know, he's got to be burnt out and cleaned up too. No one is exempt from that. No one. But there's many of y'all that is already in motion doing what you're supposed to be doing for God. And there's a lot of clarity that will always be cleared up to you through me and my son, even for ourselves, about who and what we are. It's a spiritual awakening. This is something that God said in the Old Testament. He said, once more. And it's funny how he would say, once more. He said, but once more, he said, I will shake the heavens and I will shake the earth, that everything that is not supposed to be will be thrown away or removed. And everything that's supposed to be will remain. Came out of God's mouth. And he's
Thus saith
shaking
the
up
Lord.
the earth. God is doing a spiritual awakening and shaking in the earth, because not on our time schedule, but on his time schedule. Spiritually, he's about ready to wrap all this up. That was all a part of when the disciples was asking Jesus, show us, and how will we know the signs of the times and when they will come to an end. Jesus said, when you will see these things, what? The things that what we're going through right now in this earth, because it's chaotic. Murdering, killing, all the things that my podcast has been about. Those are the signs of the times of God is ready to wrap everything up. And he really putting the last icing on the cake when he brought Jesus Christ into the world. When he came once again, oh, another revelation. The same way that he had to come in here many more times in the earth through men, starting from Noah to Abraham, Moses. Now in these last days, or what they call latter days, see, there's latter days and then there's last days. Okay, it's getting ready to come to the last days. Latter days mean later on up the road. That was even during Moses' time and Abraham time, okay, and Noah time, okay. Those was the latter days. Now we're in the last days. That's a difference. And Jesus was basically saying, now that I'm here, when he came on the scene, that's what made it the last days. He was the sign to let us know that God, with his divine plan for his creation and everything about us and him, and got to do with everything he created, is in his last days. Just like you're saying, when you go through different phases of things. All right, that's basically what he is saying. Now we're in the last days of all this, what he did, starting from the beginning, when he was a spirit, and in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now he's to the point where these are the last days. To all that which was first the beginning of days. Okay? Now we're in the last of the days. That's what he's speaking about. And that's the existence of what he did and made with his creation in making creation. Okay? Because it's natural, it's physical, it's tangible. In other words, he's saying, all right, I'm ready to put all this down and wrap it all up. Going back to being what I was from the beginning, and that was the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the deep. Okay, it's just the same way when you see a movie. You see the movie from the beginning to the center of it to the ending of it, and this was what is happening with God, who he calls himself God. That's his title. That's his name. That's his introduction. That's how we know who he is. Okay. He said, he is a spirit. That's his, like I said before, that's his deity. But we know him as God. And he said G-O-D. And let us know that we're part of him because we're little G-O-Ds. Okay? He said, I'm going to wrap all this up now. Now, where we'll be at, we won't know him like we know him in our natural mind, because that won't be no more. That's mind-boggling, but I don't want YouTube family to try to get so into that because it'll blow your mind like it'll blow my mind, okay? That's just something like, some things meant to know, some things meant not to know. But what's going to happen when all this is over with? Like people say, you know, well, where you go when you die? Well, me and my son, we tried to cover that with our podcasters. But still, even we don't know until we get there. You don't know where you'll be or how you'll be until you get there.
Do
You're
know
only
this though.
familiar.
We know that, but we do know this though. What we do know is that you return to the source.
Exactly.
Now, will you be accepted by the source? Therein lies the question, right? Will you be accepted to the source? Will you be deemed worthy to return to the source? And that's the question a lot of us have to ask ourselves.
Son, I believe that as much as that I can wrap it around my head, we might not know how it's going to be or the way it's going to be because we're still trying to figure out from where we're at right now, you know.
Right.
But we know that God, first, He's a spirit. We'll know of who we are when we get to where we were first in the beginning, you know. Because like I said, the only way we can kind of figure this out is with our natural mind, and that's going to always blow our minds away trying to figure that out, you know. Because I've always sort of, and then there's just some things just not meant to know, and there's some things you cannot know, you know, simply because of what we are made of now, the substance that we are made of now. You know what I'm saying? Spiritual things recognize spiritual things, what I'm saying, you know. So when you try to recognize something from the natural standpoint of view with the spiritual standpoint, then you're going to bump heads, you know.
That's where we get electromagnetic interference. Listen,
right.
I'll tell y'all all the time that you don't have to have a brilliant mind. You don't have to have a smart mind. You hear me? You don't have to have a clever mind. You have to have an open mind. Not even a deep mind. Although there's just some deep stuff, but you don't have to have a deep mind to get it. You have to have an open mind. Right? You have to become like water. Right?
And then I believe that also too, son. I think that that's what Jesus meant when He said that a natural-minded man cannot understand spiritual things. So that's to the point to one sometimes where that you have to leave that alone at that point, you know, because that's the only way that you're gonna try to keep trying to figure that out and wanting to figure that out is through your natural mind, you know, and that's where the opposition comes in at. All right. Now, once we be where we're supposed to be at spiritually, it won't nothing have to be to why we will want and have to know and wonder why, because we'll be a part of that where we're at then at that point. You feel what I'm saying? So we will know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I thank my YouTube family, me and my son, we really do. And because it's even though we don't know each other in the flesh like we could, or unless once we meet and be around each other, and I'm working on that too. I'm working on that. Me and my son, we're gonna have not just a live through the wires and through the media, but we're gonna actually get together where we all, YouTube family, me, my son, that we and son, I'm saying this for the first time, and you can let me know one way or the other, either after the podcast or later on up the road, you know, but it's coming soon. That I want to do this on the celebration of your 41st birthday, if I'm not mistaken, coming up this January, because we're going to a new year, right? And I would like to try to put this together and have this together by your birthday, is that we get together and have a social gathering of you and I and you two family. You know, I will. Huh?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Speak your piece.
Yeah. Okay. What I would like to do, I will be the chef. I will get a chance for a YouTube family to meet me in person, and I meet you in person. This is what I'm getting around to. This is what I'm saying. Okay. So where that we can have a live podcast and celebration of our 10th podcast, and also of my son's birthday. Okay. and also of my son collaborating and getting together. I want to make this all one big event, okay? And are coming out, letting not only YouTube family, but the world knows that God said this is what he wants and this is what is happening. Because that's the next step in a lot of other things unfolding in the plans of God and us being chosen of God to bring this forth. So I want to see my YouTube family. All right. I want to meet you and know you in person and in the flesh. Okay. It's not always between these cameras. All right. And it's a social gathering as well, too. All right.
Well, my birthday is on this kind of short notice. You feel me?
Yeah.
I mean, I could, I get in contact with my sis Val, man. She already put me up on a game on a little demo that I could get for my birthday. Just real nice, you know what I'm talking about? I kind of already have something to plans for that. But as far as like people coming, you know what I'm saying? My birthday is January 8th, y'all. That's like, that's like shortly. You feel me? So, and then traveling around this time of year too, you feel me, from out of town, you know what I'm saying? Especially where you're coming from, that may prove to be difficult, but you know what I'm saying? We could always do a situation where I have my birthday and, we just like go live or something on my birthday, have a live stream.
Okay. All right, son. I feel what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's just basically the format of something that I still would like to be able to happen. Even
for sure.
Eventually, okay?
Yeah,
on your birthday, it might be the wrong, maybe timing for that because of time itself,
Short notice
but I still want that to happen, even if it has to be at a later date. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay. That's nothing. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it can even be pushed farther back, even as maybe in when the weather is better, in the summer that's coming ahead. That's just something that I just feel that should happen among us anyway. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
But it's at everybody's convenience. I laid it at God's feet. I went to him about it, and he said, "All right, that'll work." So I'll let him work out the rest of it. To make it happen and come to pass. All right, let's put it that way. Okay, I just basically want you to be aware of that. I would have liked to try to make it happen like that because it would be something special for me, you being my son, and this your birthday, and with the podcast. All right, that's gonna happen anyway, but it won't happen right then like I thought or would want it to. So then it'll still happen, but it'll happen later on when it's convenient and when it's better for everybody else.
Exactly.
I just wanted to put it out there, told to be known. So YouTube family, just be aware of that as the days progresses on, especially going into the new years, there will be a time where that we all will be together in the flesh, meeting each other. That's all I'm going to say. So it'll let you be aware of it that I want it to happen. Finding the right place to have it at, that's all going to be on me. It's going to be a smorgasbord. It's going to be a celebration. So the food is going to be on me. You'll get a chance to really know me in a lot of ways, all right? You only know me through the podcast, but I want you to know me on a more personal level, okay? I always told you about how I'm a chef and I can cook and this and that. This is just my way of really introducing myself and letting you see me in the flesh of who and what I'm about, okay? And it's just a way of getting us all together because it's not going to always be that it's going to be just a podcast,
Right. My birthday is on a Sunday. You hear me?
Well, my main purpose was just to make. I understand what you're saying, son. Because
I'm just saying, my birthday's on a Sunday, y'all.
Okay.
My birthday is the second Sunday in the new year, right? You know what I mean? My birthday is always a week after fourth. Not before I said 4th, but after the New Year's Day. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yo, man, my birthday is January 8th.
Right, you're right.
It's January 8th, you know what I'm saying? And I'll be
right,
turning
that's 7-day difference between the New Year and Christmas. You're right.
Yeah, man. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'll be 41 years young, you know what I'm talking about?
Right.
I know it's hard to believe, you know what I'm saying? I know it's hard to believe because I'm just so handsome. I just look so useful, but you know what I'm saying? That's what happens when you take care of yourself, man. You don't look as old as you really are or feel, you know what I'm talking about? And I feel good. I feel great. You know what I'm saying? And I actually
and that's also a chip off the old block.
Right. And But also, I mean, because you know, man, shout out to Val in the court, man. Oh yeah, you already know, man. I appreciate that, Blade. You already know, man. Keep them coming, man. He said looking 31. Now, my brother Court and his wife Holland just opened up their business yesterday, the H Loss. So that could be this Friday coming up. Me and Elle, we're gonna have Friday night wrap up at the H Loss. You know what I'm saying? So that's a beautiful thing right there. We're gonna see how this work out. This might be a recurring thing every Friday night. We're gonna be at the H Loss. My brother Court, my sister Val's business. They got the first Ohio in Columbus, Ohio at that, and then the whole state of Ohio. Hair BNB. Y'all do your research on that. We got it popping. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be going down. Now, as far as my birthday, though, you know what I'm saying? Val, once again, you know what I'm saying? Just had a party for Court's mom birthday party at a location or a venue that she got access to. And she already put me up on Game About. So we was already thinking about doing something like that. You know what I'm saying? But that's a short notice for a lot of y'all. I mean, you know, if some of y'all would like to come and kick it for my born day, I mean, you're more than welcome to come. You know what I'm saying? I actually be supposed to be getting with Val sometime this week to discuss what's going on with that, though, because, you know what I'm saying, we want to have a nice little situation, you know what I'm saying, for the birthday party, you know what I'm saying? I was even discussing if I'm going to have my mom's, because his birthday is a week after mine, but, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we'll figure it all out, though. I'm gonna have something by the end of this week. I'm gonna be able to let y'all know something as far as an actual get together for my actual birthday. You know what I'm saying? I'm planning to put a little shindig together. You know, I'm talking about growing a sexy slide for my 41st birthday. You know what I'm talking about? It's gonna be a beautiful situation. You're all welcome.
Well, you know your dad definitely want to be on that part of that.
Oh yeah, you already know.
You clue me in on it.
Whatever I put together, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's welcome, but everybody's not welcome. Huh? Did y'all hear that?
Yep.
You hear me? Everybody ain't privileged enough to come and hang out with me on my born day.
Listen at you.
You know what I'm saying, man? You gotta earn that. You gotta earn that. You hear me, man?
So VIP, huh?
To be in the presence of a man such as myself, it's a blessing and it's a beautiful thing. It's a privilege. You hear me? You might have to pay.
It really is. And that's not in an arrogant way either, or
you know,
because that's the same way I feel about myself. You know,
you gotta know your worth, man. You gotta know your worth, and you gotta know your value, man. So, in closing tonight, Pops, you want to say anything? Leave them with any words in closing.
But like I said, YouTube family, it's been nice, like it always has been. I'm glad that I was able to get my phone together. Now we can see each other on one-on-one again with the phones, you know. And like I said, hopefully later on in the future and times and days to come, that we'll be able to get together in the flesh on a social level, you know.
For sure, yes, it's only right. It's only right.
Like that, you know, continue, because this is just the this is the foundation of our ministry. But it's more extensions of it than this too, you know. It'll be places and times where that I'll be making public appearances during my podcasts or my messages. Like I said, I'm going to get my new phone hooked up to where that I can have my own individual podcast from Facebook, you know, like my son doing, like many of you do, you know. That I'll be on Twitter and other different, you know, apps, you know. So that's what I'm working on too, you know. This is just an extension of my ministry with me and my son. It's the first of it, you know, but it's just an extension of many more to come in many different other ways, you know.
Right.
And YouTube family is the first family that this foundation is a part of to manifest this through, and I love you for that, and I appreciate that. Thanks to my son, you know. So everyone have a blessed week coming. Be careful, you know. I love you with everything that's in me. Mr. O, once again, you have my condolences for your loss. You chew on what I've done shared with you, you know, and what you'll be getting with me. We can even get on a one-on-one and talk, you know, and communicate with each other, you know, through YouTube. And once I get my phone hooked up right. So I'm just saying that the rest of my YouTube family, you have a blessed week coming, you know. Be safe, be careful, love others as you would want others to love you, and have a good night, and I'm out.
All right, then, Pops, man. I love you, man. I'll hit you up. If I don't talk to you tonight, I'll talk to you tomorrow for sure, man.
All right, son. Love you.
All right.
Love you all.
Love you
Good
too,
night.
man. You already know what it is, man. Y'all told you, man. See, it's a beautiful thing, man. You hear me? It's a beautiful thing, man. You already know, Mr. O, man. You know what I'm saying? We family over here, man. We don't be playing no games, man. Click on the bell, subscribe to the page. You know what I'm saying? Sharing your social engineering. Smash that like button, man. Did you learn something tonight, man? Did you hear something you never heard before tonight, man? You know what I'm talking about? Did you hear something you never heard before? It's a beautiful thing, right? You feel me? It's a beautiful thing, man. It's an honor and a privilege to teach, man. You know what I'm talking about? It's an honor and a privilege, man. Don't take it for granted. You know, when the gift of teaching has been bestowed upon you, don't you take it for granted. And don't you misuse it or abuse it. How about that? Or how about this? Don't not use it. You hear me? You feel me? And it's only so long you can ignore your calling, right? And out of that, you know, very few of us will be chosen. You hear me? And when you become chosen, right? When you become chosen, you can't avoid that stuff, man. You can try. Oh, trust me, you can try, right? But, you know, I hear a lot of people saying, well, God got for me. God got for me. A lot of y'all ain't prepared for what y'all think God got for y'all. Most of y'all would run away from such responsibilities if they was blatantly given to you, right? A lot of people don't have, let's say, the fortitude, so to speak. You know, people don't have the fortitude, you know what I'm saying, to actually do what is necessary, man. Because when they come along with this, man, he's gonna get a lot of ridicule, man. You're gonna get a lot of shame. You're gonna get a lot of hatred, man, even from those who you would like to think love you the most. You hear me? And you gotta have that Teflon skin. You gotta have that thick skin to be able to handle the scrutiny. The levels of scrutiny you are going to be faced with and put up against you, right? And you gotta be making sure you're willing to stand that, man. You hear me? You gotta make sure you're willing to take everything that comes along with that, no matter what. And you gotta be able, like I said earlier, scream from the mountaintop. No matter what nobody says or thinks or feels about it, no matter what is at risk. You hear me? You gotta stick your chest out, man. You know what I'm talking about? You gotta stick your chest out. Say it with your chest. You know what I'm talking about? Uncle Diggity, man. $402 for the Sheraton Suites Columbus for me to fall through for one night with the round trip flight. $402. That's worth it to come kick it with your brethren, right? You hear me? You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to holler at Val this week. For sure this Friday, because we doing a Friday night wrap-up. Me and Elle, we're going to be doing the Friday night wrap-up at the H-Lofts. You know what I'm saying? That's where we're going to be doing them at. We're going to be doing a Friday night wrap-up this weekend at the H-Loft as a test run. It's to test out the facilities and all of that. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be me, Court, and Elle. You know what I'm saying? Possibly, potentially, this is going to be a recurring thing every Friday. You know what I'm saying? And when we're doing that, I'm also going to be sitting down with Val discussing, you know what I'm saying, reserving the venue, you know what I'm saying, that's available, you know what I'm saying, for my birthday. Now, I'm trying to think if I want to have my birthday. I'm probably going to be, if I do have it, which more than likely I will, it's going to be Saturday night going into Sunday, my birthday. So we're going to be having it Saturday the 7th. You know what I'm saying? Going into my birthday, Sunday the 8th. And we're going to have us a good old time. And we're going to have us a good old shindig. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to let Val just do her thing with the food and all of that stuff, like how she do it. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to have a nice little situation, man. Everybody's invited, man, but not everybody's invited. You hear me? You know? You getting checked out the door, man. Oh, believe me, you getting checked out the door. If not by me, by one of my trusted brethren. You hear me? Because we ain't playing no games, man. Agent provocateurs abound. You hear me? Everywhere. I'm talking about wooded everywhere. You hear me? You already know you too, Blade Monger, man. Shout out to everybody in the building, man. Uncle Diggity, Blade Monger, Cupcake, you know what I'm saying? We got Mr. O, my Joe from Chicago, man. I'm glad that you was able to get the revelation that you got, man. If you got it, I hope you received it. It was for you. You know what I'm saying? Cherish it, honor it, and you know what I'm saying? Administer it and apply it. You know what I'm talking about? You feel me? We are all have a assignment, right? And within that assignment, you know what I'm saying, a few of us, some of us get chosen to do specific things. And like I said, man, you can ignore your calling all you want, but when you chosen to do something, you can't forget, you can't ignore that. It'll be situations created in your life to where your ass alone, you gonna goddamn do what you chosen to do or die. Think about that. Many you called, but few were chosen, though. The smart grid is now here, but it ain't over, though. You hear me? We about to get up out of here, though, man. We appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Tomorrow night, we going in, right? Tomorrow night, we is going in. We doing a celebration. You dig me, man? Okay, let me take that back. I'm going to take that back, man, because I don't want to overspeak, man. Tomorrow night, we going in, right? Rest in the essence to ARC, that's Alan Roger Curry, right? A pioneer of the so-called Black Manosphere. I would dare say the pioneer of the so-called Black Manosphere. Maybe I might change the title to that. Because when you do your research into the so-called Black Manosphere, a lot of these dudes got their game from ARC, whether they want to admit it or not. Even rest in the essence, Kevin Samuels. And this is weird that Kevin Samuels passed away under very mysterious circumstances. He was Kappa Alpha Psi. Now we got ARC, who recently passed under very mysterious circumstances. He was also Kappa Alpha Psi. Oh, we're going to get into it tomorrow night, man. You know what I'm talking about? So tap in and walk with us. You know what I'm saying? We got a beautiful week of shows and content coming up. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a beautiful thing, man. Like I said, next Friday or this Friday coming up, we're going to be at the H-Loss doing the Friday night wrap up. Me and my brother King Els, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be a beautiful situation, man. Y'all should definitely tap in and walk with us for that. And, you know, it's going to be a beautiful week full of shows. All y'all got to do is go to the video section, and, you know what I'm saying, and all that. Yeah, I'm not really familiar with David Carroll, y'all. I didn't look into his content. I wasn't no watcher of his. I ain't realize who he was until he did. I didn't pay attention to him, so I don't know nothing about David Carroll. But if he's a member of the Divine Nine, you know what I'm saying, I wouldn't surprise. I'm gonna be surprised. Lots of these guys are. And we're going to get into this tomorrow. I keep telling y'all, and y'all remember earlier when my pop said, man, don't, you know what I'm saying, nothing from the Most High is nothing secretive about that, man. Why we got to be doing secret stuff, man? Why if I got to make a pledge of allegiance, right? To get my tongue cut out if I ever speak about what we talking about. What's the big secret? Why can't nobody else know? Right? You know, something that's funny to me, y'all, that I find very amusing, right, is when people who are members of secret fraternal organizations try to go at it with me. Now, this is not me being cocky or arrogant or none of that stuff. I'm very, very, what you would say, reserved. I'm very, what's the word, assertive. You hear me? I don't want to say certain things because I don't think that fits. You know what I'm saying? But it just makes me laugh. I find it very amusing when these people act as if they're the only people who know what they know, which lets you know operating in secrecy does something to you up here. It gives you the impression that nobody else knows what you think you being told that you know. And I love just having conversations with so-called Freemasons and so-called, people of fraternal organizations that just think they know some stuff and they don't know shit. All right. And that's why I've been sent here, man, to cut the heads off of all of these demons, man. All these secret fraternal demons, all these African spirituality demons. Huh? All of these Egyptian Cometian demons. Huh? All these Christianity demons. Yeah, straight like that. And y'all see, I don't have no qualms about that, man. I'm not soft-spoken about that, and I ain't gonna be. Yeshua wasn't soft-spoken, and I'm not comparing myself to Yeshua. But remember what my dad said earlier, that which was within Yeshua is within us, specifically within me. So why wouldn't I talk heavy? Huh? My brethren, Yeshua, he talked heavy. Yeshua talked heavy. You hear me? So why wouldn't I talk heavy? And I'm going to talk heavy because I know what I'm talking about. You dig? Yeah, man. Hit that like button, man. Click on the bell, subscribe to the page, man. Share your social engineering. It's only right that I leave y'all with this song for the night, man. Thanks for tapping in. Tomorrow night we're going in. Rest in the essence to Alan Roger Curry. We're going to go into a little bit of the background of the brother. You know what I'm saying? We're going to bring some things, some clarity to some things. We're going to shine a light on some things, connect some dots, as y'all know we always do over here at A Real Talk Podcast. And we'll see y'all tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tap in and walk with us, y'all. Thank y'all for coming out. Y'all could have been anywhere else in the world, but y'all right here with me and my Pops. It's a beautiful thing. Pops got his jack back popping, and he can pop in without me having to make a trek all the way to the north side and all the way back and then all the way out again. We can just do like how we normally do it. You know what I'm saying? The birthday party situation is going to be coming up. We're going to have some full details for y'all Friday night wrap up. You know what I'm saying? And if you would like to come, we're going to let y'all know on Friday what that's going to be. And y'all can I'm going to definitely have an exact address to where y'all going to be able to come to. If y'all want to come kick it with us on my born day, 41st, you know what I'm saying? January 7th, going into January 8th. And we're going to have a beautiful time. You know what I'm saying? Celebrating the commemoration, you know what I'm saying, of the born day of me. You know what I'm saying? And it's a beautiful thing, man. I appreciate y'all coming out, man. Right after this one, man. Tap in, walk with us. Hit that like button on the way out, y'all.
Yeah. Stacks with the facts. Stacks with the facts. Real contender. There's a lot of ugly things. A lot of ugly things in the world, baby. Even though we're being manipulated and hating each other and hating each other, I still choose to love. Got a lot of love to give. Got Onyx singing the vibes. Trying to talk up, sis. I know the time for this beauty and the struggle. The impossibility of a love. Life's beautiful. Can't wait to let go. So beautiful. Life's beautiful. This life we live in, nobody promised tomorrow, man. We gotta make it by any means necessary, man. I won't be happy till all my diamonds canary, man. And all my brethren and sister locked up in the prison. Come home, no more worries about commissary, man. We've been tricked into thinking the world is filled with hate. Same time being tricked to forgetting that we great. My brother Moochie lost his life about a year ago. Now James holding it down is so beautiful. My brother K-Roll went to go be back with the essence. I truly miss him because he taught me so many life lessons. I sit back and I reflect on how the world could be if there was no more wars, no more poverty. But I'ma keep dropping tools, it ain't no stopping me. Ghost band, shadow band, it ain't no blocking me. I'm truly truthful. Stacks with the facts featuring Onyx, truly beautiful slang. I know it's time and there's beauty in the struggle. The impossibility of a love. Life's beautiful. Can't wait to fall.
children, they full of shit. We went from owning the business to unemployment checks. Everybody masked up like they robbing shit and posting vaccinations, but they ain't stopping shit. I'm saying rest in the essence, the Casey gets a junior. Another love life gone. We sending prayers to them. To every mother who's ever had to bury a child. When your heart gets heavy, just look up in the clouds. Put a smile on your face, tell them they made you proud. You being tricked into thinking the world is so slow. I'm about to get off parole. This world is so slow. My mom just got out of surgery. That's so low. I'm in a league of my own. No man above none. Truly truthful. Stacks with the facts featuring Onyx is truly beautiful. Same.
I know the time of this beauty and the struggle. Playing parts of the lady of a love. Life's beautiful. Can't wait to let go. So beautiful. Life's beautiful.